Welcome everyone to our March the 17th, 2021 regular board meeting. I would like to say happy St. Patrick's Day to all. Please rise to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. On 1, 2, 3, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
to the flag
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, this is going to be a long evening, so get ready for the ride. Our apologies to our listening audience and to our speakers. We had a meeting prior to this that went over, and we apologize to you for getting over. We ask that you mute your phones so that we can move forward. We're starting off today the board recognitions, and I want to talk about two of our BPS champions who have retired. And let's be clear, we have an awful lot of people who retire from our district, and we are grateful and appreciative to each one of them. However, when we have people who I have worked close with over the years and who have just illustrated and made such a big difference in our district, I felt that it was the need for the board to acknowledge them. Our first acknowledgee is Judy Biondi. Judy is retiring as the Assistant Director of Finance in the Plant Department. And it was effective January the 30th of this year. And she served us for 45 years. And she was the first woman. And so in honor of Women's History Month, she was one to make history in our district. We are proud of that. And she had a reputation because her background was finance, that she would find money where there was allegedly no money. And she would make. In addition to that, our contractors like to work with Judy because she made sure that they got paid on time. So we well wish her that she has a safe, happy, and prosperous remainder of her life. And we appreciate you, Judy, for what you did for our school. And I just want you to know that I have you on speed dial in the event that I need you. Now, Paul McDonald retired on the 30th. And Paul has 25 years under his belt. All the institutional knowledge that's leaving out the door, I wish somewhere in space or in time we were at the point where we could clone some of that knowledge and put it in a capsule and inject it in someone else, but nanospace is not there yet. But when we talk about Paul, he retired as the Director of Facilities Planning, Design, and Construction. And in those 25 years, Paul oversaw so many different things, but the Joint School Construction Board, which was a $1.3 billion project, 48 schools between the years 2000 and 2014, we were able to do during that period. And if you are on some of the calls that I am on, districts are trying to figure out how Buffalo did it, and a lot of people reach out to him. Paul is a preservationist at heart, and he loved to save our buildings, and he loves to save historical monuments and things. So I'm sure in his retirement, he's going to continue to save those. But I just wanted to acknowledge him, the architect that he is, and he was our first architect for our first culinary school. And so many firsts in this man's 25 years. He comes from a family who has a history of working with our school district. Would you like to say anything on behalf of yourself? But I just want you to know that you will definitely be missed, and you know I have you on speed dial, so you know that.
Mrs. Cotman, no, and I know, and I do expect some calls. Yeah, for those of you that don't know me, I come from a family of teachers. My dad, my mom, my sister's a teacher in Sweet Home. My grandparents met in 1915 at South Park High School and were married because they worked together. My grandfather went on to become the first principal of Kensington High School, and the library is now named the Thomas J. McDonald Library. So I became an architect thinking I was going to get as far away from education as I could, and where I end up with the Buffalo Public Schools. But as Ms. Cotman said, preservation is my love, and we were able to prove that we could take 19th century schools and make them into 21st century learning environments. And I would put our schools, our buildings, our classrooms up against any schools in the state and the country. And I do travel all around the state. I'm a member of the American Institute of Architects. In fact, I'm vice president of education, and people are constantly asking me, how did you do it, Buffalo? And so I'm very, very proud of that. So thank you, everyone. And I'm going to keep very busy in my retirement. Thank you.
Do I have any board members that would like to say something to Paul before we let him go? Judy was not able to join us today. No hands up? Oh, I see hands up. Please speak out. Go ahead. Let's see, Lou Petrucci, why don't we start with you?
Thank you, Sharon. You know, it was my pleasure to work with Paul on so many different projects. I think Paul is being unusually modest under his guidance and leadership, and those in the architect's office. We really did have a first class buildings and grounds. I know that when I have served on the Big Five, when I would go to the Council of Great City Schools, people were always so impressed by our buildings and our structures and how we're able to accomplish so much. And you know, that has a direct impact on achievement as well, because when you have good buildings, it helps to aid for our students. They're not distracted by a poor learning environment. It really helps our kids focus on the goal of achieving high goals. So thank you, Paul. You didn't mention any of the awards that you won while you were here, but that's okay. We know that you did. But thank you, Paul. You're going to be sorely missed.
Thank you, Lou.
Thank you. Next, we have board member Jen Acuzzi.
Well, whether you may know it or not, you impacted a whole lot of understanding in me around preservation. Working when I was, you know, parent before a school board, and we were trying to fit middle college into different buildings, and my kids were going to middle college, and how angry and upset I was around how things were going. You sat down and you talked to me about, you know, the different I guess the reasoning behind it, but also the preservation aspect of it. It really sparked my interest, and I just needed you to know that, you know, we may not have connected much over the years, but that impact really helped me realize just how intricate our buildings are, and it also helped me to calm down. You know, I'm not an easy person to to talk to when I'm at that level, but you were able to do that, and I just want you to know I appreciate that, and I respect you for it. And good luck.
Thank you so much.
And then we have board member Terrence Hurd.
Paul, I just want to say thank you for your work that you did in this district. I haven't personally worked with you on projects, but I've seen you, you know, quite a few times. And just personally thank you and your family for your contribution to the city of Buffalo, our children in the city of Buffalo. And I know somehow you'll find a way to continue on with your work somehow, you know, unpaid or paid, whatever. But I'm sure it's in your heart, and I'm sure we'll see you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Hurd.
Thank you. Continuing with our board recognition, I am going to give a shout out. And in the near future,
I'm sorry.
Yes, oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Cash. Go ahead. You have your mute on.
They muted me from the main.
Okay, you're good.
You're
good. We
okay,
can hear
you
you
go.
now.
Thank you. Paul, I just wanted to, on behalf of the BPS staff and family, really acknowledge your almost 30 years of stellar service, your energy, your passion, and your love for Buffalo but particularly Buffalo Public Schools and the first class edifices that are here in Buffalo. Your remarkable background as an architect, it's just been invaluable service to us. Helped us usher through the $1.4 billion school building renovation project, one of the largest in the country at the time. And I still think it's one of the most significant for a whole school system at one time to upgrade all of their school buildings. That's amazing. Again, we wish you the very best, and please help us to continue. Give us stern reminders if you see buildings looking like they're falling into disrepair. You don't let that happen. You just let us know, and whatever board is here, whatever superintendent is here, I'm sure they will get right on it. So again, your service has been invaluable.
Thank you.
Best wishes to you, and keep up that work on all of the things you do. And of course,
Thank you,
Judy, thank you for all of your service in helping us through the years. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
Okay, all minds are clear. Okay, fine. So we're going to give a shout out to one of our high school students who, because she is handling her business today, she is not available. She is playing a basketball game. We have to mention City Honors, Kyra Wood is first BPS girl basketball player to surpass 2,000 career points, which she accomplished this past Friday during the Ladies Censor's 60-23 triumph over the Owls of Olmsted. Kyra is headed to Temple University and would have been with us tonight had her team winning streak not kept her on the Emerson court as we speak. We will bring Kyra to a future meeting when she is available, but we want to salute our young people who are doing excellent, and we look forward to meeting her on a one-to-one in the very near future. And my final board recognition is an honor of a fond memory of Lord Hart. Yeah, Terrence, it is worth applauding. It really is. My final recognition is a fond memory of Lloyd Hargrave. On February the 18th of this year, the Buffalo Public Schools in the city of Buffalo lost a notable and tireless champion for all children, Lloyd J. Hargrave, Sr. Dedicated most of his life to engagement with our district, encouraging our excellence and forging long-lasting one-on-one relationships with many of us. He shared his expertise, particularly of Title I education policies, with us locally and with a national audience. Most importantly, he never ceased to put children and family first in his advocacy. Lloyd Hargrave Sr. will be missed so very much by us because he will never be replaced. I have fond memories of Lloyd. We agreed to disagree a long time ago, but we both agreed that there was something that needed to be done, and he chose his way of doing it and I chose mine. I can tell you that I did not know how much respect Lloyd had for me until there came a time where he had to make his presence known in our city and in our district to support me. And I told his family at the wake that it was almost worth going through what I went through that day when Lloyd walked in, because that meant, yeah, that's the real deal. That meant that he really respected me and he cared. And he got out, and he had been a little under the weather during that period, but he got up and he came down there to make sure that I was being taken care of in the right way. And for that, I respect him and I love him. And I loved his tenacity and his ability to just fight for our children. See, what we have to understand is that we don't always have to agree on how we go about getting it done, but we have to agree that it must get done. So Lloyd, rest in peace. DPCC, I was at their meeting the other day. They've got some things coming forward in regards to Lloyd, memorializing him in the future, and I'm looking forward to working with them on that. With all that said, and without further ado, Dr. Cash, I would like to turn this meeting over to you to give your superintendent's update, after which we will have our speakers come forward.
President Cummings, what I would recommend this evening is that you have the speakers go first. I have 5 really, really important topics. It's going to take me some time to go through, and they are at the top of mind for this school district right now. So I would recommend that the speakers go so that they don't have to wait as long as it's going to take for me to give my update.
Thank you. Board members, are you in agreement with changing the agenda today to accommodate the speakers? May I have a thumbs up? All in favor? We agree? Okay, so we're in agreement with that. Thank you. No opposed? Thank you. Okay, so without further ado, we'll bring our speakers forward. Who's handling that? Is it Darren Brown? Are you handling that for us today? Darren Brown, who's handling our speakers today?
I
They're
can.
on that you can? Okay, thank you so much.
All of our speakers are on right
Okay.
now. So we'll ask Mike Lucci to unmute them. You want me to go through the list, Mrs. Cotman?
I have the list here if you want me to call the names out after I read the comments to them.
Yeah, it's up to you because we.
Okay, I just didn't know if you needed to be in City Hall to do, I mean, in the office to do it. I didn't know.
No.
If you, okay, good. We're good then. Okay. At this time, the board welcomes speakers who have signed up to speak at tonight's meeting. Please be reminded that all speakers' remarks must be limited to 3 minutes or less. We ask that the speakers be mindful that this is a business meeting open to the public and televised locally. Attendees and viewers include persons from throughout Western New York, including children. This board asks that the speakers conduct themselves professionally and that their comments remain civil and courteous, bearing in mind that they will be heard by people of all ages. This is an opportunity for Buffalo's residents to address the Buffalo Board of Education about issues that serve the public interest and district's mission. And the board asks that speakers demonstrate appropriate quorum. You are allowed 3 minutes. Thank you for joining us. Our first speaker today is Tarinda Brown, parent of Westminster Community Charter School. Mrs. Brown, or Mrs. Brown, are you there?
I'm here.
You have the floor.
Hello, my name is Mrs. Brown. I am a parent of 6 children. My association with Westminster Community Charter School have gone on for about 23 years in total. All 6 of my children have graduated from that school. All 6 of my children at this particular time have also graduated from high school. I just want to get on board saying that I'm looking for the renewal for the charters, renewal for Westminster. I hope that all the things that Westminster have accomplished over the years and showing our dedication to our children, showing our dedication to our parents, how we are all for sending our children off into the world proper, a proper educational background and a good head start. And I feel that's what Westminster will provide and has been providing all this time for our children.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
You're welcome.
Our next speaker is Allison Giomondo, teacher, Westminster Community Charter School. Allison, are you there? Can we hear you? Okay, we will go to our next speaker, and if we can, we will come back and see if she is there. Our next speaker is Chantel Tucker, parent, Westminster Community Charter School.
Well, good
Miss-
evening, everyone.
Good
As a
evening.
parent of a child that goes to Westminster Community Charter School with the old saying, it takes a village to raise a child, in this case, a school, this is how I feel about WCCS. The teachers and staff wear their heart on their sleeve when it comes to the students whom they teach and serve. The avenues of communication they give to me as a parent is excellent. All the sixth grade teachers have my phone number and contact me if there's any issue with my child. If there is an issue, it gets resolved very quickly, and a game plan is created with an active involvement for my child in regards to his learning. There's another saying, teamwork makes the dream work, and that is what WCCS does for me and my family. They truly go by their mission statement, creating a safe and caring environment and promoting community involvement in everything they do to keep us informed, and with the ultimate goal of every student being academically successful. I give them a rating of 5 stars.
Thank you, Mrs. Tucker. Are you, is that the end of your statement?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Tucker. We will go back and see if Allison Giomondo is there. Okay, we're going to move forward because we have to wrap this up. Next is Sandra McBride, teacher at Westminster Community Charter School.
It's Sarah McBride. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Good. I am Sarah McBride. I am a kindergarten teacher at Westminster Community Charter School. In August, the dedicated teachers at my school were given the option by the BTF to teach only remotely. The teachers overwhelmingly discussed it and voted to offer in-person learning too. Our school community has been so appreciative of those efforts to meet the educational needs of our students while being safe. As I said, I am a kindergarten teacher, and this year I have the class of remote kindergarten learners. Therefore, I have a very direct line to these families every single day. I hear how grateful parents and caregivers are for the teaching, the flexibility, the support, and the overall positive attitudes at our school. Westminster has always had a strong sense of community, and because of that, we've been able to meet the challenges of this pandemic. I thank you so much from the bottom of all our hearts to the board and the district for your continued support of our school. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Teacher McBride.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Khadija Hassan, citizen/sibling. Khadija Hassan, are you there? Okay, Khadija Hassan, we will move on.
I see her on the screen, Mrs. Cotman. Khadija, are you not able to speak or unmute? Her screen is frozen now. Okay, let's go to the next one and then we'll come back to her.
We'll come back to her. How's that?
Okay.
Next, we have parent Jessica Bauer Walker, who is no stranger to this board. Hi, Jessica Bauer Walker, you're next.
Good
Jessica.
evening. Sorry, Khadija is saying that she can't unmute.
Hear me now?
Yep, we can. Go ahead, Khadija.
Are you Khadija?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Khadija. I'm sorry. I was having trouble unmuting for whatever reason.
Okay, this is Khadija Hassan, citizen/sibling.
Good evening. My name is Khadija Hussein, and I am a sibling of 2 students in Buffalo Public Schools and also a community health worker. And I was just here today because in January I came to the board meeting. I was speaking on a very important and sensitive topic, which was the overall health of our students and their families that's related to going to school during the pandemic. And I listed some of the things that our students and their families said about the stress that they're going through and being overwhelmed and feeling they're mentally unstable due to all the work that they're getting from school in the middle of a pandemic. I personally felt like after my team, I felt very unheard and almost overlooked. And as much as we understand that the district is under a lot of stress right now, I was just saying that we need the district to also understand that we are all under a lot of stress. Our students and their families are also under a lot of stress, and we get that no one was prepared for a pandemic, but I also feel like there's resources out there, and the resources are people like myself, community health workers, caregivers, and different type of people that is advocating and lifting up the voices of students and their families. We are being asked to participate in different pieces, but our work does not feel like is being appreciated or acknowledged. We are also spending a lot of time coming to different meetings and coming to different meetings and lifting up the voices of our students and their families, but we do not feel like we're also being listened to or with the right responses, and also feel like there's not actions being taken when we speak. And I understand that a lot of times when we speak, we're just being told, thank you for speaking, I'll connect to the right person, but I just want to lift up the importance of how important it is for us to work together as a whole, because I'm constantly being told to speak to Nadia Nasher, and I highly appreciate the work and the effort that she's putting in when I do voice my concerns with her. But it's just, I also just want to communicate this out to the district, so that we're very tired and frustrated, and we're really looking for a change. And basically we're frustrated and we're looking for a change, and I'm just hoping that in the future we can feel like we're actually being listened to and not just heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jessica Bauer Walker, parent.
Thank you, Board Member Cotman. Good evening, everybody. Thank you also for the recognition of Lloyd Hargrave, who has been such an important leader and parent advocate to so many of us who've been doing this work for many years. Thank you, Khadijah, for coming and speaking. I wish that you had time to hear Khadijah's story and all that she goes through to be at these meetings, and what she does to be a mother to her baby, as well as help take care of her siblings, and all the work that she does in our community as a community health worker. I am a mother as well, and also a community health worker. And I just want to be clear, we don't come to these meetings to complain. We come to advocate because we love our children. We love Buffalo Public Schools, and we believe in the power of public education to be transformative, to create a more just, equitable, and inclusive world. And we can't achieve that if we don't discuss our challenges and truly listen to and partner with parents and students. We as mothers are tired and frustrated, and we need a change. We have borne the brunt of the caretaking and educating of our children and filling so many community needs right now. Women have left the workforce at a much higher rate than men have. Many of us that are still able to work are balancing an enormous amount in both our work and family lives. We come to these meetings asking you to partner with us to communicate, coordinate, and collaborate with families and communities. We're asked for specific suggestions, and we've given you many ideas and solutions. We've even been told by district leadership, all I hear are complaints or join a committee. This is hurtful and disrespectful. When you tell us you're doing things like implementing the wellness policy, when we've told you that you're not in our direct experience, it devalues our work and our contributions and what we have done as community health workers and parent leaders. We are not problems to be fixed. We're not boxes to be checked for parent involvement. We're here to advocate for ourselves and our families and our community. I'm encouraged that the district is taking a restorative justice and restorative practice approach. I would like to just remind us that the restorative practice framework is to recognize harms and needs. We have an obligation to put it right, and we have to engage everybody in the healing process. So again, we're here to let you know that some harm has been done. There is some hurt here that we have expressed. There's a lot of parents who cannot come to these board meetings, so we're trying our best to lift up and amplify those voices, and we look forward to finding ways that we can truly partner and come into restoration, trauma-informed, and culturally competent approaches as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica Bauer Walker. Next up is Vanetta Rose, parent. Vanetta?
Yes, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and good evening,
evening.
President Belton Cottman.
Good evening.
Thank you very much. I am just here to provide support to Khadija Hussein. We shared a meeting for the emergency child care task force, Erie County Child Care Task Force, where she was there and Dr. Karetsis was there. She posed a question to Dr. Karetsis regarding communication methods that could be used to better serve families of other cultures, especially ones that are where English is not their first language. She mentioned how it is difficult for them to receive any written materials and process the written materials in English or to check the website, and that they need a more connective approach in terms of outreach from the school district so that they can learn where indeed the resources are for virtual learning support centers and anything else. At that point, she was told, it was basically thrown back in her lap and told not to wait on the Buffalo Public School District for any help, that she should take, I believe it was get it in motion or take legs with the issue and reach out to students and families and basically get it done herself. And I just really felt very just frustrated and shocked by that approach, because there was no offer for partnership, there was no connection or communication, no resources offered, no plan, or at least the beginning of a plan that possibly could be discussed even after the meeting. And, you know, that just really was I was just really very shocked by that once again. In terms of cultural responsiveness, which I know is a big push by the Buffalo Public School District, and I do compliment them on that. This was again made me wonder, do all the members of the Board of Education or within the Buffalo Public School District administration truly understand how to approach and communicate and work with children and families that are expressing need constantly and having it just outwardly thrown back at them really is just bothersome. It made me wonder how much other times, is this a microcosm of other times that Khadija, through who already, you know, reaches out through children and parents by virtue of what she does every day professionally. So
Okay.
even that in itself. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that, you know, that we really need to somehow right this wrong, come up with a systemic approach at making this better and having immediate action steps being taken. Because I'm
Okay,
sure.
thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but you could finish your last statement. You're sure what?
Okay, I was just going to say, I'm sure everyone agrees that in serving these children and families, we are improving the school district as a whole. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Next, we have Assunta Vinchesta, citizen, parent, grandparent, implementation of child wellness policy. Sue, are you there? Sue Vinchesta? Okay, we're going to move forward. Next, we have Gwendolyn Coleman, parent, excellence in school / curriculum. Is Gwendolyn
Can you hear me?
Coleman here? Yeah, I can
Yes,
hear
I'm
you
here.
now.
Can you hear me?
Thank you. I can hear you
Yes.
now. Thank you.
Yes, I'm a grandparent. I have 3 grandchildren who attend Westminster Community Charter School, and I've had great experiences at this school with my grandchildren. I've kindergarten grandson who's reading at E-level. He knows colors, addition, subtraction, alphabets. His teacher and his teacher aide, they go above and beyond to make sure the students who are excelling, that they get, work to meet their curriculum. They do have a curriculum to follow. I have a fourth grader who, they go hybrid, and the teacher, they do great work when they're in school. They do excellent work when they're at home. I have a sixth grader who his science teacher, if he has a problem, he'll even work with the children on Saturdays. Now, to me, that's a village. That's somebody who's teaching these children who never, say they don't want to go to school, they don't like school. They look forward to the days that they do go to school. And I appreciate that, because to see that a child is willing to get an education because of the way the teachers are and the school itself, they offer these children so many different curriculums. Even though it's virtual, they have UB coming in to do science projects with the students, and they look forward to the 2 days that they do go. And to me, I really appreciate that type of education, because like they say, a mind is a terrible thing to waste, and time is as well. And I look forward to the Mondays and Tuesdays that I bring my fourth and sixth grader there, and the week that I bring my kindergartner there, because to me it shows they're given an excellent education. These teachers go above and beyond to make sure these children are getting the education that they need. If there's a problem, they'll dojo me, they'll call me, they'll send a letter. They keep me informed of everything that the children are doing. They keep progress reports. I'm just proud to have my grandchildren there, and I would recommend this school to everyone. I have 8 more years to go here because my grandson is in kindergarten, and I'm going to see that he graduates from there. Okay.
Thank you.
So
Is that your
okay, you're
statement,
welcome.
Ms. Coleman? Thank you so
Yes.
much for sharing that with us. Next, we have another person who's
President
not.
Cotman,
Yes.
Sue Ventresca has joined the meeting.
Oh, okay. I will go back then. Sue Ventresca, citizen, parent, grandparent.
Hi, I'm
Welcome.
sorry. I couldn't get off mute also. So here I am again today to advocate for the full implementation of the district's whole child health as academic wellness policy, which was developed by all district stakeholders, including parents and students. An engagement of parents and students in this process was extremely valuable in creating a nationally recognized policy. From my experience and perspective, the implementation of the policy has not been a priority for the district. From my perspective, the health and well-being of the students does not appear to be a priority. The district wellness coordinator position has not been filled, and there's a lack of knowledge and understanding of health services or public health. The last time I called in, I was asked what aspects of the policy were not being implemented. In order to clarify to the board and the district administration on the shortfalls of the implementation, I have a copy of the policy that it will be shared. Couldn't get it to you today, sorry. And I highlighted sections that indicate areas not being implemented. But I want to say over and over, I kept highlighting the district wellness coordinator. You don't have anybody in that position who is addressing issues and monitoring the progress. For example, the YRBS, it was done in 2019. There's still no report. K-12 comprehensive sexuality education is not being taught. So there's a lot of things not being done, and it's highlighted, and you will get a copy of that. BPS students are entitled to opportunities that will enable them to grow up in the healthiest way and become thoughtful, caring, and self-sufficient adults. This can be achieved with full implementation of the whole child health as academic wellness policy. This is a major equity issue facing our students. For full implementation, there must be administration that prioritizes health and the well-being of all students, and an infrastructure that has staff to implement and monitor progress. Please prioritize the health and well-being of students and staff. Please prioritize partnering with parents and shared decision-making on issues of health and well-being. Please prioritize full implementation of the wellness policy and the infrastructure to support the implementation and monitoring of the policy. Remember, research has shown that healthy students do better in school and have higher grades than their less healthy peers. Our children deserve an equitable chance to be healthy and reach their full potential. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue Van Tresca.
It's good to see all of you.
It's good to see you, and thank you for in your retirement, continuing to work with us. We will work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Next, we have another person who's not a stranger to us, Sam Radford, CAO, We the People's /parent.
President
Concerned with the culture MOU, yes.
Mr. Radford left a message in the chat for us. It says, sorry, I am not able to stay on the call to speak tonight due to the late start. I have to teach Bible study. I will be on the list and speak at the next meeting. So we can move to the next
My
speaker.
apologies, Mr. Radford, for that. But this would have been the time, for real, if the superintendent had done his recognition. Normally, this would have been the time period that we would have been speaking. Finally, I have Dr. Wendy Mistrata, parent and DPCC president, with an update. Dr. Mistrata?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, I need to take a step back from the comments that I intended to deliver tonight. My plan for my DPCC update was to highlight our last business meeting and other input from our parent leadership within the last month. And that update is still very important, primarily because of our discussions about honoring our sage advisor, mentor, and friend, Lloyd Hargrave. Instead, I will email that update, which includes a request to name the parent center at Bennett High School in his honor, and a renewal of our request for our CFO to attend our April or May business meeting. However, I feel that I would be doing the memory of Lloyd a great disservice if I didn't say something about our other speakers tonight. I'm going to ask everyone to take a deep breath with me and really listen, not just to me, but to everyone. Please listen to understand. Many of us participated in the Urban Forum yesterday. Every session that's led by Dr. Morell and her staff begins with norms. The first norm is always a request that we listen to hear rather than listen to respond. All of our families are hurting, those of our students and our teachers and our staff and our community leaders and our school leaders. We may be struggling in different ways, but we have one thing in common. We do not feel like we're being heard. One of our struggles is the stress of not knowing a plan. I've been on many meetings over the last year. We were told that there'd be a plan for the return of our students by the end of July, but that didn't happen. Then it was 4 to 6 weeks after school began, but that didn't happen. In mid-December, we were told that there would be a plan to give all students the option to be in our buildings by mid-March. It's March 17th, and I'm not even confident that my daughter will be in a building by the fourth quarter. So yes, I do not feel like we're being heard. Added to that, we're waiting to hear more about the ransomware attack. While it's important to get our kids back into the building for academics, we have families who are very concerned about the security of our families' personal information in our district files, and we're waiting for that communication. Lloyd's hard work was about shared decision-making for our families. Every stakeholder needs to be informed through timely and meaningful communications, and we want to be engaged from the first day of planning, setting goals, identifying obstacles, discussing solutions, and collaboratively implementing plans. That's how we wish to be engaged, not through bringing you problems with potential solutions in 3 minutes, but through a meaningful and collaborative process. During my course of PhD studies, I learned about the history of in-local parentis theories of education, but those practices do not work in the 21st century. I'm willing to bet that we could all do a better job of listening to understand. This will truly honor Lloyd Hargrave's memory by authentically treating families as colleagues and engaging in collaborative shared decision-making with all of our stakeholders. Please take another deep breath. We've got this when we work together. I thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Dr. Mistrata. Thank you. before, I'm sorry, Dr. Cash, before, let's do the, do you have any response to our speakers today, Dr. Cash?
Colleagues, would you like to respond to the speakers? Would you like me to respond? How would you like to handle this part? I have a long series of items. Do you want me to say a few words?
I would, yes.
I only have a few words.
Yes, I would like for you to say something, and if board members would like to comment,
colleagues,
we can do that.
Colleagues, certainly we want to appreciate any parent who is thrilled with the services that their school is providing to their children or to their grandchildren. So for the Westminster Community Charter School speakers, the 4 parents, grandparent, and a teacher, we're pleased that you're pleased. That's good to know. In the 3 speakers that spoke about, I don't know, community health, being frustrated, tired, and in need of change, I think we all share that sentiment. What I do know is that I have an extraordinary associate superintendent of student support services, Dr. Tanja Williams, who reaches out and works with all of the parent groups under the aegis of Parent Congress. And I've always directed her to work closely with parents and figure out what their needs are, provide services, support services for our students and families. That's what that whole division is all about. She says she's there 24/7 to take calls, to have a conversation, and to work the work. So work with Dr. Williams so that it can be clear what it is you want. I'm not clear what it is that you want us to do with this community health worker thing. I think you should help. I do think you should do everything you can under the time that we're going through to help and reach out with parents. You're a partner with us, then you're a partner with us. And let's work together and do that. I've said that numerous times in this space. In terms of Sue Ventresca, certainly we agree. Again, this work falls under a person who I hold in high esteem, Dr. Tanja Williams. And the child wellness policy is critically important to the school district. COVID-19 disruption is the time to implement such a policy, and I expect that we are. And so if we're not, then again, have a conversation with Dr. Tanja Williams and let's figure out where the gaps are. I haven't heard about these gaps. In terms of Wendy, I don't know, meaningful and collaborative process. I would take umbrage with that. I have Dr. Darren Brown Hall as our lead communicator and person who absolutely has coordinated, helped to design and implement a meaningful and collaborative process to work with parents throughout this whole disruptive COVID period. From a year ago, almost to today. A year ago today, we began this journey together. And we've got people on meetings. We had 28 meetings at one stretch during the summer. Dr. Brown Hall meets every 2 weeks with this parent group, this community group. There are many subcommittee meetings that Ann Botticelli and Kim Holscher and Nadia Nachir and others, Dr. Tanja Williams, all chair, and there's many of you are on those committees as well. So I am, I guess if you don't feel like you've been meaningfully included, then my apologies. I will apologize on behalf of the district. If there's more specific things that we can do, but believe me when I tell you, all staff are trying to do that. The students are the most important in our heart and in our mind right now. We want them back in school, and we have done everything we can to begin systematically to do that. And we have been very systematic and thoughtful about that process. So you'll hear more about that this evening. None of these events are easy. We have had 2 catastrophic events happen to this district this year, and we are working our way through it. And I do believe that at the end of it, we will be right in about the place that you will have expected when you really look at large urban districts across the country. So again, I couldn't be happier with what staff have been dedicated and committed to doing, and our families and our parents and our students are our most important customers and partners. So we believe that. So anything we can do better, please let us know. President Cotman, those are my comments tonight for the pre.
Thank you, Dr. Cass. Is there anything that any board member would like to say? I have a hand up for Mr. Terrence Hurd. A second hand with Paulette Woods.
Okay, I heard the concerns of our speakers tonight, and I would just like to just address some of the concerns of Mrs. Hussein, Jessie Barr Walker, Netta Rose, and Mrs. Ventresca. I would like to just work with the board. Maybe possibly we can look to have a community forum that we can put together under the Educational Support Committee to just listen to your frustrations. I hate to hear that you're tired and frustrated, and that there's a need for change. I know this district is doing a lot, to try to work through this the conditions, through COVID-19 and reopening. There's a lot that's going on right now, but I know we'll take the time to hear the superintendent messages this evening, and then maybe possibly in the near future we can work together a forum just to hear concerns after that. Hope that some of them will be addressed today, and that we can try to get some resolution. But I don't want any of our stakeholders to believe that we're not listening, that we're not trying to understand or trying to work out some of the ideas that you have and how to move things forward.
Thank you, Mr. Hurd. Next is Paulette Woods.
I heard the concern from the parent who addressed that our immigrant population, our ELVs, our parents who speak so many languages are having a problem with reading our instructions, finding out how to find out the centers. I am hoping that working with Tanja Williams and the superintendent and the board, that we can put an emphasis on that. We cannot afford to have 17% of our population not able to gain access to the resources. I know we're doing a lot, we're translating a lot of information, but that's a communication gap that I truly feel we have to put some more resources on. And that's the thing I wanted to bring to an emphasis on. As far as the other speakers, I do feel that we're trying very hard to reach out to the community, and all I can say is we will try to do better, and talk with Tanja and the superintendent and see what we can do to make this better. Our commitment is student and families first.
Thank you, Board Member Woods. Board Member Larry Scott.
Comment. In line with what Board Member Hurd and Ms. Woods shared, I just want to bring to people's attention that last week I hosted a live chat with Dr. Turkovich, Chief Medical Officer at Children's Hospital, and invited all the Parent Congress leaders to participate in that. Ms. Hussein, you were on the invitation. Maybe it didn't come through. I'm open to, having that conversation with you. If you have questions or have concerns, feel free to reach out to me. But just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention that it was a very profound educational discussion on reopening schools with Dr. Turkovich. Parent leaders, other parents and teachers, and a student participated. So, similar to what Mr. Hurd said about a community forum, I'm always open to have virtual forums at this point, open to all to discuss this important matter in regards to reopening schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other board members with any other comments? I see. Okay, I don't see any other hands open. I can say that in my working with Dr. Williams and Ramona, or Dr. Ramona Williams, Reynolds, excuse me, and Dr. Williams, that when things are brought to their attention, what I will say is that there have sometimes, and I'm going to say this respectfully, sometimes, okay, we have to understand that if we want to move forward, we have to stop digging in our heels. And in order to move forward, there has to be a give and take. One of the rules of physics is that a matter at rest will remain at rest unless force is applied, okay? And so we see that concept when you're riding on the bus. You're moving fast, you're going forward, and then the bus stops and you go back and forth. Same applies when you're at rest. So I think what we need to do at this point is to see where our rest points are and how do we move forward. And I'll be happy to have that conversation. As far as having community forums, I think there's a need to have small community forums. However, in regards to the board, and I will share this in the new business, the commitment that I've made with the Council of Great City Schools is to talk about having meetings, several meetings with several groups of our constituents, and starting first would be our students to address their needs since they have been the ones who have been harmed the most during this process. So we'll talk about that under unfinished business toward the end of this meeting. But in moving forward, if I want to assure our parents that it is not our intent not to listen or have, and I don't believe our staff's intent not to listen or to feel that you have been marginalized. And we apologize if you feel that's the case. However, we do have to start with a new paradigm. And that paradigm begins with each one of us taking a look in the mirror and seeing what we can do different. And that's what we're going to do moving forward. Okay? And I'll make sure that happens. Thank you. All right, Mr. Scott, we have some unfinished board business. Can you address that so that we can move forward, please?
Yes, thank you, President Cottman. Motion to excuse board member Dr. Ann Rivera from the meeting tonight.
I get a second from Lou Petrucci. All in favor? Please raise your hand. Any opposition? No, so moved. Thank you very much, Mr. Scott. Okay, with that said, Dr. Cash, are you ready to do your superintendent's update? Because I want to assure our parents and our listening audience that we are going to update them on our mayhem, I'm calling it, that has occurred. I like to think that it's that guy on the commercial, but it's not. So I want to think about that. But I said yesterday, we're like the Goodyear bunny. Okay, we take a licking and keep on ticking. So don't get it confused. We're not down yet, okay? All right, thank you. Dr. Cash?
Thank you, President Cottman, board members, and colleagues. Mike Lucci, if you could put the slides up now. Board members, I have asked one of my assistants, Ms. Lowe, to send you this deck now so that you can follow along. Colleagues, I have 5 important items to discuss with you tonight. Topics. Each one is directly or indirectly related to student achievement and our ability to get back into schools and commence the teaching and learning process with vigor, as we have been doing most of the year. First, next slide, Mike. I hope you can see it better, colleagues, than I'm looking at it. I'm not sure
We can see it.
what's creating a problem. Can you see? Oh, okay, here it comes. Thank you, Mike. Colleagues, the first item, I would like Dr. Fatima Morrell to take 1 or 2 minutes just to highlight what did occur yesterday. We continue to keep our plan moving forward in this district regarding our emancipation curriculum. We don't stop, we don't quit, we don't get deterred. When we're doing something right for children and when we're doing something right by our families, and our teachers are full partners with it, developing the lessons and learning as well. So Dr. Morrell, if you can share this slide, I thought it's a very active slide. It says a million things. As we know, a picture is better than 1,000 words. So Mike, share the next slide, please. And Dr. Morrell could give us a nice synthesis of what happened yesterday. Mike,
Thank you.
could you go to the next slide?
Thank you, Dr. Cash. Thank you. Greetings, esteemed Board of Education members, Madam President Belton.
Mike,
this is
next slide.
It's there, Dr.
Thank you.
Dr. Cash.
Okay.
Go back, Mike. One slide.
No, back, Mike.
Okay, the right. Okay. One more forward, please, Mike. One more, 2 forward, 2 forward, 1 more. There we go, right there. Leave it there. Thank you.
The slide with all the pictures. The slide with all the pictures, Mike.
That's it. We have it, Dr. Cash.
Thank you.
There it is.
Thank you, Dr. Cash. Greetings, esteemed Board of Education members, Madam President Belton Cottman. Thank you so much for allowing this opportunity for me to discuss briefly the outcomes of the Urban Forum. It was an excellent Urban Forum, and it was well attended. I want to thank Myra Burton and her team for their tremendous work in ensuring that the Urban Forum could proceed even after such a vicious cyber attack on our district systems. And I also want to thank the Office of CLRI, who worked tirelessly for months in order to ensure the Urban Forum, virtual Urban Forum could occur. And so there were approximately 500 people who were greeted by our board president with the welcome, and I want to thank her for her welcome. Also, other board members who attended, Ms. Woods, Mr. Scott, and Dr. Rivera, thank you. So the district community members were able to hear Nicole Hannah-Jones. She is, of course, a Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative journalist for the New York Times and the creator of the 1619 Project, which is one of our required readings in the emancipation curriculum. She really demonstrated the power of teaching from a platform of honesty and veracity, and how our students need to be taught the truth of the legacy of enslavement, and how that truth is a strength-based educational practice that really prepares our students to be free, critical thinkers and future leaders. And as you can see in this graphic, that is a synopsis of her speech. We talked about everything from anti-racism begins with re-education on to teaching complexity and nuance, and teaching also from a platform of veracity, as I stated. And so in closing, she really discussed how teaching from a platform of veracity prepares our future leaders in our as American citizens and ready to take on the free world in a democracy. She explained that there's power in the pushback, and that we should question the opposition to any of our work, as this is legacy work, and that we can grow from that opposition. And there has been positive responses from the community, the teachers, parents. Overall, it was just a tremendously great Urban Forum 2021. Thank you.
Wow, great. It was beautiful.
Thank you, Dr. Morrell, and thank you for your continued excellence in this work. I know you're always humble about the work, but colleagues, the Pulitzer Prize organization has mentioned this work about the emancipation curriculum on its postings and website, and that's to me one of the highest honors you can get in this country if you have the Pulitzer Prize organization watching you closely and commending you for your progress here. So again, great work, Dr. Morrell.
Thank you for your support, Dr. Cash.
All right, colleagues. Colleagues, the next 2 weeks are integrally related. They are the cybersecurity outage update, and I have 6 slides to go through on that critical topic. And then I have the phase 2 reopening update on 1 slide that I will show you the main points and give you our recommended reopening date, and make sure that you're the first to hear about it. Because as you can imagine, we'll be getting a lot of media requests throughout the week about all of these issues, these 2 key issues. Mike, next slide. Colleagues, on this first slide, I'd like to give a little bit of a context. I always think that when you're going through things that you did not anticipate, well, then turn it into a positive. Educate, learn about it, get well versed in it the best you can, short amount of time, and then share that knowledge with the public. And that's what we're doing here. New York Times writer, her name is Nicole Perlroth. You can look up the title of her new book. But what I came across it this weekend, reading my New York Times as I do every Sunday morning. And what she's arguing, it's a piece of nonfiction. She does immaculate research on this topic. And she basically is saying that the single greatest threat to the world and to the United States is cyber weapons. And under cyber weapons, of course, are a whole host of issues, including cyber attacks on schools, for example, colleges, universities, cities, institutions of all kinds. So please take a look at that book and educate yourself about this issue. It's much, much bigger than the attack on Buffalo Public Schools. There are over 1,000 cyber attacks on school districts in just the last several years. Some of the large districts include Hartford Public Schools in Connecticut, Jackson in Mississippi, Miami-Dade County, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Toledo, and Clark County, which is essentially Las Vegas, in Nevada. There are essentially 2 types of cyber attacks on schools. One is the distribution of denial of service. It attacks and overwhelms the internet bandwidth, and that's called a DDoS attack. And then there's the ransomware attack, where the hacker or hackers take control of the target's computer systems and demand some kind of ransom. At this point, based on the definitions and the partners we're working with, this appears to be the latter kind of attack. Next slide, please. Myra Burden, our exceptional, and I mean exceptional, CIO, Chief Information Officer, will take these next 3 slides. And keep in mind, colleagues, that this is a criminal investigation and that we are probably being watched at this time. So we keep our comments at a very high level while at the same time trying to help the public understand more fully what has happened. Myra.
Dr. Cash, good evening, board members, President Kottman, and colleagues. Before I begin, I would first like to acknowledge and commend the amazing information technology team for their dedication and perseverance since Friday. Each and everyone in the IT department has been absolutely phenomenal. And I'd like to especially acknowledge Sarah Edwards and the instructional technology coaches, Josh Kovacic, Cindy Turton, Eric Stockmeyer, David McGuire, Mike Lucci, and the network team who've all been committed to daily recovery since this incident occurred. I would also like to acknowledge the support of the board, Dr. Cash, and extend my appreciation to my cabinet colleagues and the school principals for their collaboration. So first I'm going to begin by highlighting the significant progress we have made in just a short period of time. I personally believe we have defied the norms and gotten our district back into a mode of communication in record time. Our focus has been on restoring connectivity and system access for school readiness and for relevant critical applications. We immediately mobilized our response teams to address connectivity in areas of instruction, network, business operations, and facilities. Next slide, Mark. So our first phase for our school system restoration has yielded the following status for each of the areas that you see on the screen. The network infrastructure is considered green. And while there may still be some intermittent issues, wireless and wired connectivity has been restored, and our IT department will respond accordingly and swiftly to resolve any isolated issues that may arise. Staff and student access to our core instructional applications is green. We've worked with our principals to determine if staff can get connected, if students can get connected to our core instructional applications, and we are continuing doing that, but we have yielded great success in that area as well. Access to our core operational applications is yellow. We do still have some tasks that need to be completed in order to stabilize some of those systems. And I will speak to some of the critical next steps that we will take in the next slide to continue this work, particularly in this space. And our overall status for core facility systems is green, and our major safety life systems are also green as they are not reliant upon internet or technology. Next slide. So, Dr. Cash, I will turn it back over to you.
Dr. Cash, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry, guys. Trying to be educative at a high level to give you a picture before the ransomware or before this cybersecurity attack. The pie on the left represents the academic side of the house and the business side of the house. And most of our systems, if you consider us, like Myra explained, to have 4 buckets of major systems, and across those are things like, you know, our network connectivity between buildings, our wireless internet network, our wired internet network, our phones, our cameras, Office 365, Microsoft Teams, Clever, Schoology, Infinite Campus, School Messenger, our website, our EMT or EMP Center, our Versatran, which is our transportation systems technology, Primero, which runs our food service sites, our professional growth system, our PA systems, our HVAC systems, and all of those are systems that are run by technology. And so those all have to be functioning well in order for a large school system to function well. Well, before the attack, the pie on the left shows you that we're mostly doing really well with those systems. And again, it's a credit to the staff and to the IT department. And we always have had some that are, I would say, aged and need to be either replaced or upgraded. And we were working toward that. And so you see some yellow dots. After the attack, you see light green. I put it in light green. Again, amazingly, the academic systems and tools that we need for teaching and learning, by far, they're at 90–95% functioning, back to functionality. So that's really good news. On the business side, there's some of these systems that I've mentioned are going to need a few more days of work, and we're going to have to dig down and continue to either stand up, rebuild, or put onto a cloud these systems so that we can continue to function while we work on the long-term solution of upgrading and restoring and all of our information. So that's just a graphic to kind of show you where we are, and I thought that might be useful to you. We'll turn it back to Myra for her last slide, and then I'll finish with something that I think as board members and as legislators we should push, given what has been occurring. Next slide, Mike.
Okay. So I'd like everyone to keep in mind that this is a marathon, not a sprint. We still have a long way to go on this recovery and restoration journey. The previous slides that highlighted our progress and status in the first leg of our journey showed that we have made some significant progress. But our next step on this journey includes engaging professional expert partners that can assist us with a full recovery and to help us implement best practice mitigation strategies. As part of this work and with a cross-functional executive team, we will develop a detailed plan for application recovery, remediation, and testing. This plan is also going to include a transformational roadmap that will illustrate how we are going to harden our infrastructure and our security controls. We will continue to increase employee security awareness and training for cybersecurity and internet safety best practice. And also, of course, we will continue monitoring our schools for stabilization. So I'm looking forward to where this journey is going to take us, and I look forward to coming back to you to show the accomplishments and how we're going to turn this incident into an innovative opportunity. Thank you.
Next slide, Mike. Yeah, next slide. So colleagues, I wanted to share with you what I think would be a proactive approach, given what has happened not only to Buffalo Public Schools, but to school districts all across the country. On July 9th, 2020, this piece of legislation was introduced in Congress by a Josh Harder. He was a Democrat from the 10th Congressional District in California. And this is a very promising piece of legislation. If it had passed, it did not, but if it had, it would have provided $25 million in cybersecurity over the next 5 years for school districts across the country. That amount probably should be increased significantly, and then the grants would be applied for the purposes that we've been describing here this evening. And it also would fund programs to prepare next generation of students who are looking to pursue cybersecurity careers, as well as scholarships and apprenticeships interested in this field. And that is part of what we had introduced over at East High School, is this very kind of concentration for our students. So I thought that piece of legislation was promising. It did not receive a single vote on July 9th in 2020. But I can tell you that we need to ramp this up. I intend on sharing it with, or at least the gist of it, with our legislators here in Western New York. And this needs to be a priority for school districts. To attack a school system, we're finding is very cheap. It doesn't cost a lot of money to do it. But to defend against cyber attacks is quite expensive, inordinately expensive. So we do need legislation like this going forward, colleagues, and I trust that you would support it. All right, that is my update on that. That is all I can talk about at this point because it is an ongoing investigation, but let me move to the next topic at this time. Mike, topic number 3. So colleagues, again, this afternoon, as always before a board meeting, I talked with our medical director, Dr. Dennis Quo, and he has indicated that while a month ago COVID cases were dropping, he pointed out that they are no longer dropping. They now have stalled, and they have stalled at a high level. So he recommends that we do not drop our safety protocols in any way at this time, that we continue testing, and that we continue the social distancing, of course, the mask wearing, the hand washing, and so forth. He believes that the variants are still a concern, and that we do not know at this time how spread they are in this community and to what degree they've reached our community, but they are spreading fast, and they are believed to be much more contagious and lethal. So his advice is to hold the course on what we're doing with safety protocols in our schools. Do not reduce that distance from 6 feet to 3 feet, as has been being talked about in some places, in some quarters. So the bottom line is, now that these businesses are opening and social gatherings are starting to happen again, he's worried that we stalled, but we stalled too high, and that now it could start to creep up again. And this is not the time to back away from important safety protocols for our children and our families. The major systems that are required to continue to reopen in the phased way that we are doing it are the systems that we talked about just now under Myra's reports. So those major systems of academic systems, business systems, mostly doing well right now, but it's fragile, colleagues. We can't say that they're sturdy and really strong as they were before the attack, but they are, if we continue making the amazing progress that we have been making over the last several days, we do feel confident that we can start on March 22nd, Monday, March 22nd, with the phase 3 reopening. The plan that we had intended to execute this past Monday, we believe we will be able to do it this next Monday. Tomorrow and Friday will need to be days of remote learning for our students, pre-K through 12, as they teachers continue to work with the students to learn these new password and processes to get into the system and do the teaching and learning remotely. So that principals feel that way. We polled all of our principals today. They are also in touch with their teachers, and the teachers are feeling like there's more time needed to get this done. I'm hoping these systems that have improved hold, because that's the big contingency. If they hold, then we believe we can open safely and efficiently and with great excitement for our children. We want our children back in schools. They need to be back in schools. And that's what we're going to be continuing to move forward to do. So that's the update for that. Certainly, we can take any questions regarding any of the topics, any of the points being made under number 2 and number 3 before we go to 4 and 5. I think this is a good time. If there are any questions that I can answer, I will answer it. Otherwise, I do have 2 more pieces, but they're not as related to these 2. These 2 are related. All right. If no questions, then we go to number 4. Number 4, I want to give a high-level point about it.
Dr.
Mike?
Cash, there are questions that have come up. Are you ready to take them?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. So sure, go ahead.
Mr. Hurd has a question, Board Member Hurd.
Thank you, President Belton-Cottman. Hey, Dr. Cash, thank you for your report. The question I would like to just ask, you said this Thursday and this Friday we'll be continuing with remote learning. How would that affect the Saturday Academy, for one?
The Saturday Academy, you mean if it's remote, I would think that it should be able to go. It should be able to go. If they're using one of these systems, Teams, Microsoft Teams, or Lifestyle, or Zoom, then I would say they should be good to go. But I would defer to Myra on that. Myra, is there any concerns or anything that I'm not aware of about the Saturday Academy that they've been holding, that Say Yes has been holding virtually for most of this year?
So we have put some additional restrictions in place on our video conferencing tool.
Okay.
And Dr. Hall and I have spoken about it, and he has worked with the lead that manages that program to develop some workarounds on how they will facilitate it on Saturday. Dr. Brown-Hall, did you have any more information to share?
Absolutely. Thank you, Myra. Working with Myra today, we will be using Microsoft Teams for our Saturday Academies, and we will be, again, partnering with our CBO and Say Yes for that. It may be limited in the sense that we're only going to use Microsoft Teams, and we won't really be able to have many guests on there, but our students have their Microsoft Teams accounts, our teachers do also, and our Say Yes partners have their logins. So we'll be able to hold a virtual Saturday Academies. They may be a little limited this week until we still work through some things, but we are going to be able to hold them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And how will it affect our food distribution? Will that still go on as planned for our families of need?
You mean Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Yes,
Saturday.
the food is, or on Saturday?
Yeah, both.
Jim, I believe you're on the call, and my understanding is that those will continue as they have been. Do you have any updates for us on that question from Board Member Hurd?
Food distributions will continue as planned, Dr. Cash. Thank you.
Okay, those are some of the questions from our stakeholders. And my last final question would be about Monday. Who will be allowed back into the buildings on Monday?
So Monday will be the phase 2 plan that we've had all along. Phase 1, just so we're very clear, phase 1 included pre-K through grades 2 in a hybrid model, and then our highest need students as identified by each school in a 5-day-a-week model, highest needs. So pre-K through 2 and highest needs. At the high school for phase one, we invited back seniors only. And we worked to develop really individualized schedules for all of our seniors. And that has been one of the innovations during all of this time, difficult time, that I'm really most proud of, and all of you should be, because the seniors are being very well served overall right now, and because of the special attention that we put on them during phase one. Now, for phase two, which will be added to phase one, we will be inviting back all grades 3 and 4, which for some schools, that's their full complement, pre-K to 4. We have a number of pre-K to 4 schools. We also will be inviting 9th graders back in many high schools, the whole class. And then in some high schools, there will be a mix of partial 9th grade and partial 11th grade, because they want to accommodate more students in the 5, 6, 7, and 8 continuum for those schools that have grades 5 through 12, for example. So that's who was been invited back, and the bus schedules have been mailed out to all of the students and families in the pre-K through 8, the yellow bus schedules. And then, of course, in the high school, they depend largely on NFTA or other means of transportation.
Thank you for that report, Dr. Cash. Just one last question. Will our students that returning back to school, will they be using the technology pads once again inside the facilities, or will they come?
Yes, yes. That is their lifeline. Those tablets. So you carry those back and forth, to school to home, to school to home. So yes, bring those to school. And then for those students whose families desire to stay at home and continue the remote learning process, certainly the students keep the tablets there, and teachers will be teaching both their at-home students and their in-class or in-person students. Short answer is yes. Bring those tablets to school.
And thank you for your time, Dr. Cash.
Thank you.
Are there any other board members with any questions?
I have a few questions.
Yes, Mr. Board Member Scott.
Thank you, President Cotman. My first question is technology related. And first, Ms. Burden, thank you tremendously to you and your entire team for all the work that you're doing right now. Everything went well today for both of my boys with their technology, but for some reason, my wife and I were knocked off of Infinite Campus, and we couldn't find a way to get back on or, reset our login. And I assume many other parents are in that same position. Is there some easy way to reset it?
Myra?
Yes, to reset your access to Infinite Campus.
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm not sure that your access to Infinite Campus should have necessarily changed. If you don't mind, I'd like to follow up with the team tomorrow on that to see what the problem might be. But you could try possibly, I guess, signing back out and checking back in to see. Did you try doing that?
I did, and then tried to recover my username and password and didn't get an email sent to me with that username.
Okay, so I think it would be, easier to just try to give you some hands-on assistance and possibly get somebody on the phone with you to try to walk you through it to resolve your issue.
Okay, thank you. My next question has to do with the distancing. I brought this up in the last meeting about how we're following in most of our schools 8 feet of distancing, and can we reconsider to make it 6 feet of distancing? And we were told that was going to be considered, and looks like it's something that's definitely going to need to be considered for the next phase beyond phase 2. So just wondering if there's an update on that.
I do know that Dr. Cash is looking into that. We are working out numbers. I know that Juan Perez met recently to go over the numbers and what the class sizes will look like and what that distancing will look like. So we're still updating Dr. Cash on that information. So that is something we are still looking at and we are working through.
Thank you, Dr. Brown-Holland. I think the next question's for you too. Just want to, because there's a lot of the public, a lot of parents are watching tonight, just reiterate that all parents in the phase 1 and phase 2, the grades of the phase 1 and phase 2 that have had a chance to return will have a second chance to return their children for the 4th quarter in April, correct?
Absolutely. So I know even at our last principal advisory committee, we did discuss that. So students that opted out or families that opted out of in-person instruction for the February 1 return or this phase 2 return will be able to change their mind for the 4th marking period. If they opted out, it was up until the end of the 3rd marking period commitment, April 23rd. After that, they will be able to change their mind for the 4th marking period. Yes.
Thank you. And my last question, I think, is for Mr. Weimer. I had sent him an email, I think, last week. Some of the teachers have been reaching out to me regarding the playgrounds and having access to them. I think some of them are still locked and not accessible from when the pandemic began, and with our kids returning and wanting to get them outside. Any update on opening up those playgrounds?
Board Member Scott, I spoke with Barry Kirkard, Director of Plant Services, and also our Director of Health and Safety, Yvette Gordon. There are no specific limitations on cleaning of playgrounds or anything along those lines. So as soon as the weather gets to a point where we feel that, the principals will be comfortable in taking their students out there, we can absolutely open those playgrounds. But that'll be a decision that we'll make, moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Weimer.
Okay. Next question is coming from Vice President Lou Petrucci.
Thank you, President Koppman. I know as phase 2 is about to roll out, I was just wondering about phase 3. Has there been discussion on what that might look like? Is it going to be 5th and 6th, or 5 through 8, or 5th through 6 and 10? I know that a lot of this is going to be dictated by the science and the safety of our students, but I was just wondering if we could just have a little update as to where we are with the next phase.
Well, what I can say to you is that I had instructed before phase 2 for principals to keep it fluid, to continue to reach out and invite students to see who would be coming back and who would want to come back for all of their grades. So they've been continuing to reach out. So if you're pre-K through 8, for example, they've been reaching out to their 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, trying to get a handle on who would want to come back and what that would mean for the design of the footprint. So that's continuing. And high schools are nearly there. If they get the 10th grade in, they'll be there, and pretty much 9, 10, 11, and 12, except for the 5 through 12 schools. And then in the pre-K through 8, I worry about all of the kids about this time. So, I can't say 7th and 8th grade more so than the 5th and the 6th grade. But I am going to try to get both of those groups in within a 2-week span, rather than a 4-week span. So whether it be 5th and 6th and then 7th and 8th, or whether we start 7th and 8th and come down to 5th and 6th, it'll be some combination of that in phase 3.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cash.
Because what has happened to us, I'm trying to compact it now. I may have to compact 3 and 4 and try to see how much we can do, get as many back as possible. But again, given the safety protocol, I'm going to be working on that right through the break with staff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Cash, I have a question. My question is about summer school. The conversation nationally is that that summer schools are going to be a no-brainer, that most districts will be having summer school. Are we in agreement with that philosophy as well?
Oh, absolutely. We'll probably have at least 2 major summer schools for pre-K through 6, pre-K through 8. One that we will require for students to catch up to grade level and hopefully go beyond even if we can, because you can do so much now with the technology if you apply yourself. So that would be a 6-week, 6-hour-a-day required summer school for the elementary grades. And then Say Yes to Education in Buffalo is also sponsoring a summer school that has a little more enrichment kind of approach for recommended students from our elementary schools. And then the high school is likely to have two strands of summer school as well. So I'm going to put a lot of be recommending to you as a board a lot of resources that come from the stimulus, for example, go into our summer school, go into our after school programming, our Saturday school programming. Long story short, colleagues, we're going to need a year or 2 of intensive sort of 6-day-a-week learning opportunity for our students in order for many of them to catch up and go ahead. So you'll see more and hear more about that in your committee sessions as we go forward. Short answer again is yes.
Thank you. One of the issues we've often encountered with the summer school is the students wanting to work under the mayor's summer youth program. I would appreciate if we could start having some conversations around that with the city to make sure that everything is done to provide the opportunity for children to get educated as well as make a couple of bucks this summer, as in never before. All right.
Yes.
So if all questions are answered on that, and you are concluding your superintendent's update, Dr. Cash?
I'm sorry, President Cotman. I have 2 more.
Okay, go ahead.
And we'll try to keep it brief.
Okay.
The next slide, please. Next slide, please, Mike. And colleagues, here I just want to let you know at a high level, from my perspective, when I heard Board Member Woods, I believe it was, tell us that one of the subcontractors for this important North Park Community School project was really exciting. We want to get it done, need to get it done. But I didn't like what I was hearing about some of those subcontractors, whether it was a raggedy form that we had or something else that needs to be improved. Long story short, we pulled this project back and we're going to re-examine it and rebid it. That's what needs to happen. We need to rebid it, and there'll be an opportunity in the process to really hold a forum that Rick Fanton is going to do to invite MBE companies, MWBE companies to hear what we're doing, what we have to offer, and to hear specifically about this project that is going to be worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $7 to $9 million when it's all done. So long story short, we're going to rebid this, and I believe Jeff Pritchard has put a sort of a resolution before you. I'm not sure where it ended up, Darren.
13, Dr. Cash, of board docs.
So Darren and board president, what do you recommend? Because that's the bottom line, is that we're recommending, for a host of reasons, the substances listed there, that we rebid this, and that's what we're asking your support for tonight. Do you want to read through this? If we do, that will take some time. Or do you, or how would you like to handle it? I want to do it at the way the board feels most comfortable.
So this is a project that was pulled at the last board meeting, right? We have not bidded on this at this point, right?
Parts of it were pulled, Ms. Cotman. The part that dealt with the part that Ms. Woods was talking about. I don't know if that was the mechanical or the plumbing or the electrical, but some of them, two parts of the project, I think had already been awarded, if you will. And so that, what we're saying is to pull all of it, because even those parts now have shifted with what the cost is going to be. And
so we would need legal to explain to us what's the board's obligation on this before we decide what we can do. Okay, because
well, we did ask legal. We asked legal about it, but
right.
Certainly if
I've reviewed the resolution that's in the packet. This is Nate, and I feel it's sufficient and appropriate. So I think the resolution as it's written is sound, and I think the justifications of the district are sound.
And you're comfortable with that, then of course the board would be moving forward based on your recommendation. Now the resolution is under 13. Okay, A, board members. Okay. All right.
And if you'd like, colleagues, my suggestion would be, if you're comfortable with it being part of the consent agenda, to give you a chance to read through it while we continue with the business, or you can pull it separately at that time and vote on it.
Well, I think we should, don't we have another resolution listed that I'm not seeing right now?
Yes.
Where is that, Darren? I'm not seeing it.
This is a superintendent's resolution. It's already part of the consent agenda, so you'd have to move to remove it and have it be a separate item.
Okay.
I mean, I would recommend it be part of the consent agenda, and if board members have questions, they can look through it now and ask it as part of the consent agenda.
Okay, no problem. But where is the other one, Darren?
The other resolution that deals with assessments is 24A.
24A, okay, all the way down there. Okay.
But I believe that Mr. Scott sent edits to that resolution to board members this afternoon, so you can discuss it when you discuss that resolution.
Right, and that's independent of the consent agenda. So board members, do you have any concerns in regards to accepting our council's recommendation and to accept this resolution and vote on it as part of the consent agenda? Is there anyone with a problem with that? Okay, so if there's no problem with it, we'll keep it as part of the consent agenda, and when we vote, we will be voting on that item. Okay?
Thank you, colleagues. Colleagues, I have one more item, and again, I apologize for so much tonight, but it's just that it's that time. It's the convergence of so many critical issues all at once that I didn't want to wait until the April meeting to bring this item to you, because it would be right upon us. And then also because, next slide, Mike, also because you do have a resolution that you just alluded to in item 24A, I guess it is. But we wanted to give you a brief update on the student assessments that are being required and what it means for our young people. And so Ann Botticelli is going to just in a very high level give you where we are and what the state is indicating to us regarding these issues and what the implications will be for us. So Ann, if you could, in your own good concise way, give us the highlight on this, because I think it's instructive for the board as well as the community. There's been a lot of questions about what will happen this year with 3 through 8 assessments, with Regents exams and so forth. I figured we'd just give it all at once, and then everybody will be crystal clear. So Ann, thank you. If you could, please.
Yes, all set. Good evening, board members. I will be short and sweet. In some cases, we don't have all the information, but I will share what we are aware of. So there is the potential that certain mandated assessments could be canceled if the federal government approves New York State's waiver. So that would apply to English and Math 3 to 8, the Regents exams, and the Science 4 and 8. If that waiver is not approved, and currently it is not approved, then we would be administering at least portions of these exams. So I'll just quickly go through them. So grades 3 to 8 ELA and math assessments, we are required to administer book 1. Book 1 of those 2 tests consists of multiple choice items. Only student scores on the session 1 questions will contribute to the student's total score. The test will be administered during the following windows. So the English assessment, book 1, would be administered the window of April 19th to the 29th. And the math assessment would be administered the window of May 3rd through the 14th. Again, that's only book 1. The Regents exams,
We can't hear you, Ann.
I apologize. I will start again. So right now, the state has applied for a waiver from the federal government.
Right.
Okay, so if they receive that waiver, we would not be administering certain tests like the 3 to 8 English and Math, or the Regents, or the Science 4 and 8. However, right now, we are operating on the assumption that we will be administering those. So grades 3 to 8 English and Math, the district is required to administer book 1, or session 1. Book 1 consists of multiple choice items. Only student scores on the session 1 test questions will contribute to the student's total score. The test will be administered during the following windows. So the English assessment would be administered during the window of the April 19th to the 29th. And the math assessment, book 1, would be administered during the window of May 3rd to the 14th. Regents exams, we will administer the required exams. So as of now, we anticipate we are administering Algebra 1, Living Environment, Physical Setting Earth Science, the written portion, and the English assessment. Right now, we are aware that the August exams have been canceled, so we would be administering those 4 in June. Students who have met the standards for the course of study may be eligible for an exemption to the exam requirements if they meet the criteria that State Ed has outlined, and it is similar to what we did last year. We will clearly provide more information to the students as we determine who is eligible and who is not eligible. We are required right now to administer the science assessments in grades 4 and 8. The window is June 7th to the 9th, and we will administer the written test only. We're waiting for more information to be released from the state. The world language assessments, checkpoint A and B, we are waiting for more information from State Ed, but we are aware that our checkpoint A vendor is not going to be providing that exam this year. So it is unlikely that we will be administering the checkpoint A and B exams. The NYSA, so the New York State Alternative Assessment, is being administered to qualifying in-person special education students during the window of March 8th through June 11th. The NYSA slot is broken into several portions. The speaking portion of the NYSA slot will be administered April 19th to June 9th to multilingual students with a NSITEL designation. So in other words, they've taken the NSITEL and have, we know whether they are beginning or emerging, etc. The NYSA slot reading, writing, and listening portions will be administered the window of May 17th through June 9th to multilingual students with a NSITEL designation. We also have 2 other assessments that we will be giving this year, the AP and the IB. So the College Board has provided multiple testing opportunities to schools this year. We're coordinating individually with each school to determine what type of administration will work best at each site. So in other words, paper and pencil or online assessments. Just as a side, the AP Spanish Language and Culture exam and the AP Music Theory are only available paper and pencil. So those students cannot take them online. The paper and pencil administration window for the AP exams is May 3rd through the 7th, May 10th through the 12th, the 14th, and the 17th. So those are school day exams. And then in terms of the International Baccalaureate, the majority of our IB courses will only administer the internal assessments this year and upload those to the International Baccalaureate to be scored. A few courses are assessed in alternate ways. So for example, they might have a portfolio assessment, but the majority will take the internal assessment and send those to the International Baccalaureate. So that is a very high level list of assessments that we will be providing this year. Again, if the state does get the waiver granted from the federal government, there would be some updates for you.
Thank you, Ann. Really good. Well done. President Cotman.
Thank you, Ann Vettelli, our Chief Academic Officer, and Dr. Cash, Myra Burton, our IT Officer, Dr. Fatima Morrell, and Dr. Darren Brown Hall. And if I forgot anyone else, I'm sorry. Thank you also. With that said, that concludes your superintendent's update.
Yes, it does.
Thank you. All right, moving forward, board members, I need a motion to accept the previous board minutes.
So moved, President Cotman.
Second by Jennifer Macuzzi, and first by Lou Petrucci. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so moved. Next, we have our committee reports. I'm going to start with our student board representative, Tamisha Walker. She has been here since 5:30, and I can tell she's ready to let us know what's on her mind. I can share with you that I was on a meeting not too long ago. I think it was a mental health meeting at her school, and she really rocked it out of the park. Very proud of you, young lady, with what you provided. She provided a lot of substance to those adults in that room, and kudos to you. Thank you for being there, and thank you for sharing student impact. So what's on your mind today? What do you have to share with us as far as your report? We can't hear you. Mike, if you have her on mute or anything, see if you can unmute her.
And now, Tamisha?
You're not getting through?
Mike,
Okay.
will you unmute Tamisha Walker? It must not, they don't have her muted, so I'm not sure.
Okay, so then we need to form a, Mike, we need to get a way to access her. What we'll do is, Tamisha, if you'll let us, we will move on, and then while our staff works with you to get you up and running. Okay, Darren?
What we can do is, Tamisha, on the email I sent you earlier, there's the call-in information, so use that information and call in, okay? Thank you. Okay.
All right, so we'll just take one person before you while you do that, and then we'll come back to you. Okay? Thank you. Do we have any committee chairs that are interested in reporting out at this point? Anything to report out, Paulette Woods?
Well, we did have the Finance Committee meeting. We had an excellent report on the EEO updates. I'm glad to hear that Dr. Cash is moving aggressively on that particular contract. We did have a vote on saving $26 million on refinancing our bonds. And the other thing was there was a meeting with the controller. We are moving forward toward a written agreement protecting our fund balance and providing transparency in the relationship between how the Board of Buffalo Public Schools funds can be used and with in cooperation with the city of Buffalo. But I believe Mr. Petruski will probably have something else to say on that. That's my report.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I'm gonna go to Terrence Hurd next. Then we will do Vice President Kathy Evans Brown. Then we will do Vice President Lou Petrucci. Then we will open it up for any additional conversations that our board members are working on independent of that.
Okay.
Mr. Hurd.
Thank you,
Yes.
President Coleman. On Wednesday, March 10th, Education Support Committee meeting, we spoke about McKinney-Vento programming overview, and also the internet security and safety for students and families. And it was the third thing that was added, and hopefully we'll be able to get to it today, was an update for the athletic ad hoc department that deals with the sports department, Buffalo Athletic Sports Department here in the city of Buffalo. So to begin with, I'll start off with the McKinney-Vento program. Dr. Tanja Williams, she's Associate Superintendent of Student Supports, did a wonderful job of giving a presentation about the McKinney-Vento program and the overview of this program. Actually, this is recommended by School Board President Sharon Belton-Cottman to look into about some of the things that was going on with the McKinney-Vento program. And Dr. Tanja Williams spoke about the 6 New York State Education Department requirements for the McKinney-Vento program. Some of them were about students and youth being allowed to continue with their education in the district. Students must be provided with transportation, meals, educational service. Another one of the things that were appropriate identification of student housing. Questionnaire has to be given out. Immediate enrollment into schools for these families and children. Also provide educational support services as needed and maintain and not disrupt the educational process. We learned that there's many challenges that's been going on with the McKinney-Vento program as far as funding. We haven't had funding from the program since 2016. So these are some of the things that as a district and the board that we have to address. And the funding ensure gaps, from previous applications that are connected to established best practices. And we want to make sure that we can continue on with the funding for that. So that's something we'll be looking into and digging into once again, and hopefully come with some better conclusions and applying for grant monies for the McKinney-Vento program. The next one, internet safety update.
Excuse me, Mr. Hurd, before you go on, you are blurred. I don't know if you've done something to change the way you're, but I didn't want to interrupt you. That's a little bit better, but earlier you were much better. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Oh, no, thank you.
That's much better, but not as good as earlier. There we go. That's better. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, President. Next part of the presentation was internet safety and security update. This was done by Myra Burton, our chief technology officer, and also Dr. Tanja Williams, who retired, our associate superintendent of support services, student support services. And this was a great presentation. We talked about internet safety. It's ironic that we went through these challenges with the internet, just now, this past week within our district. But we learned that last week that the district had done a lot, to enhance our internet safety and technology. And our district gave out a technology handbook to our students. They can go online, I believe it's buffaloschools.org/handbook. Right. And so they can look at some of the things that will help with internet safety. And we talked about some things that happen within the districts. That's something that's very common. It's about human trafficking. So this is one of the reasons why we brought this up, to help, put another layer of protection for our children as they do virtual learning from their homes, and the teacher teaches virtual learning, protection for their families. So another thing that was spoke about, to help, with these families, these conditions that we have to deal with. I'm sorry that we have to deal with these things in our community with our families and children, but it's reality. So we talked about digital citizenship. We also talked about content filtering, and and about appropriate sites are being blocked. Inappropriate sites are being blocked by our district, and we got software that help block these type of sites, and that includes dating sites, sites that promote drug usage, weapons, and gambling. And we also, is a layout that you can go into our Buffalo Public School webpage itself and see some of the things that the district has done. So go to buffalopublicschools.org and you can see some of the other things. We are also great to have a speaker come on that talked about PATH from the PATH organization. Her name is Julie Palmer, and PATH stands for People Against Trafficking Humans. Now, the PATH organization is a faith-based organization, and its mission is to end human trafficking and exploitation through education, prevention, and restoration. So the PATH organization has been working here in the city of Buffalo that I had many programs with in the past, and asked if they can help out here, with the conditions of trafficking and child predators, that exist through social media and on our live stream platforms that somehow, they can get into. So we talked about human trafficking and some of the numbers that we read about, and we learned last week on the 10th about human trafficking is that every 2.5 hours a child is taken by human traffickers. And also the average lifespan of a child victim is 7 years once he or she is taken. And here in the United States, 10,000 to 150,000 victims are held as commercial sex slaves. Another staggering number that we learned was 96% of trafficking victims are females, but the males are really on the rise right now, and they're big targets, especially in the city like Buffalo of its size. Every trafficked child is purchased for sex about 4.5 times a day, and 50% of our trafficking victims are children. And here in the United States, this is $1 billion a year industry. So this is something that this district takes very seriously, and Dr. Tanja Williams talked about programs that we have within the district that we established to try to resolve some of these instances. And so families that are affected by it, if you have been reached out by or targeted by a victim or are a victim, or your family has been under this challenge, from a contact through somebody that's unfamiliar to the family, to them, that it's just a couple of signs that you should look out for. I'll get through the signs and we can move on. But if you know the signs, the number one sign is the hunt, is when your victim is being targeted. The number two sign is the scouting of victims, where they tend to prey on children who have emotional neediness, low self-esteem and low confidence, and economic distressed areas. The third sign to look out for is manipulation. That's when they try to gain their trust. The fourth sign to look out for was dependency. That's when you fill in their needs. The fourth sign is to look out for manipulation. That's third, but it's about gaining trust, dependency, and then the victim get trapped when they get forced into isolation. And the last sign, number 6, is abusive behavior. That's when they try to maintain control of whoever individual that they have. And another person that we spoke with that I introduced to the district was Kelly Galloway. She have a program here in Buffalo called Mona's House. And if she also wants to get involved also with the nurturing of our children and the safety of our district. So there's a couple of other elements that we added that we can have outreach to help us with this conflict and problems that people have with our children in our district. So thank you so much, Belton. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Board Member Hurd. Okay, so we're going to change things. Kathy and Lou, I'm going to ask you to wait. We're going to get our student board representative. She's been on for a while and she has to get her rest. So let's, Tamisha, you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We're sorry we can't see you, but we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, first off, let me start off by saying my name is Tamisha Walker. I'm the board, I'm the student representative for the Board of Education. The first thing that I want to speak about is that recently I've been a part of the Burgard Mental Health Grant, I've attended and I spoke my opinion on it. I feel that what's happening with that grant should be happening in all Buffalo Public Schools. It shouldn't just be Burgard. So I want to take that as a stepping stone to breach it to other schools and to give other schools that opportunity as well. With that being said, one of the things that I want to focus on mainly this year is mental health. Getting mental health out there. Mental health awareness is very important, especially during this pandemic. Some students don't know what mental health is or how it affects them. I mean, mental health can be good or bad, but students don't know that, so that's something to definitely get out there and tell them that they have resources that they can reach. In our high council, we went over 5 ways to have good mental health, which was be active. You can go outside, you can go ride a bike, take a walk, give support to someone, give some type of credit to someone, give a compliment. Another one was take notice in the small things, like just appreciate the little things. Another one was connection, just being connected with you and your family and connected to people in general, even if it's FaceTiming over the phone. And the last one was keep learning, and just to keep learning and being involved in your community and stuff like that. And also another question I have for the board is let me rephrase this. Why am I so there's a student board. There's myself, the president, the vice president, and the secretary. I feel that the vice president should also be allowed to these meetings, especially because the current vice president right now, she's a sophomore. So when I leave and when I graduate, she'll be taking over from me. So it's good for her to learn these things now and to be educated about it now and to experience it now and then later, until like if she wait until next year, she'll be walking into something new and she won't know it. Right now, I'm trying to show, like when I walked in, I just walked in. I would have rather have somebody show me what's what and how to do things. I think it's better for her to learn these opportunities now than later. And yeah, that's all I have.
Well, thank you. And let's talk about that, okay? Because if you're saying that your vice president is a sophomore, then we would have to change our guidelines, because if I remember right, the president has to be a senior or a junior. So Tamisha, or board member Walker, I should say, we talked about the policy. And so what I need you to do is to make recommendations in the board's policy for changes. And we can have you work with the board's attorney on that. I can work with you. Then we would have you work with Nate Kuzman. You would have that under your experience as well. And if there's some things that we need to adjust, I'd like to share with the board that recently it was brought to my attention that many of the urban school board districts are giving stipends to their student board representatives. There are 2 sets of different groups that are doing it. One is just to help them have additional money if they want to do things for students. So it would be something that would have to be a student activity, or the majority of the Council of Great City School members are giving the students a stipend. And so I'm planting that seed that we can talk about that under Mr. Pertucci's committee moving forward. But we are in a district where our children have, most of them have low income, and we might think about moving that forward, and we can talk more about that at the Mr. Pertucci's next committee, if you will, sir. The mental health piece is huge. And so each one of our students normally have a legacy that they leave. And I believe from what I'm hearing, Board Member Walker, that you're saying that you want your legacy to be in the work that you do in regards to the mental health of our students. Is that what we're hearing? Okay, so we can talk more about that. I think it's a great opportunity for you to move forward with that, and so we'll take a look at that, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Does any other board members have anything to share with this our student board member at this time? Okay, so we'll be working more with that more than likely, you'll be working with Vice President Lou Petrucci on a few things as well, okay?
Okay,
And you
thank you so
can,
much.
and thank you, and we appreciate you coming. We know that it's late, so if you have to sign off, it's fine with us, but keep in touch. At least, let's talk to each other at least once a week, okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
Mr. Hurd, your hand is up.
Yes, Board President, I think that's a wonderful suggestion, or to help out with our student president. If there are any type of programs that she's involved with or speaking to have, I think that's a wonderful idea that we should really embrace and talk about in the near future.
And Dr. Cash, may I ask that she be considered as one of the spokespeople, students for this district, Dr. Cash, and that she be allowed to participate in student forums if she has the time, etc. She is really an articulate young lady, and she has a lot to bring to the table. And we have other student groups that are working, and I like to tie all of them together and try to see if we can strengthen our student leadership piece. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you. All right. All right. So thank you, board members, for allowing our board member Walker to have a say in that. Next, we had talked about Dr. Kathy Evans Brown moving forward, and then Vice President Lou Petrucci, followed by Larry Scott. He has a committee report as well. Thank you.
Thank you, President Cotman. Thank you, Board Member Walker. Those were great ideas. I'm going to do a brief report of the March 10th Student Achievement Meeting. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So there were 3 overarching themes discussed. The first one was the Jesse Ketchum resolution update, and Dr. Will Cresses provided another update from the previous presentation related to this resolution that really initiated in November of last year by Vice President, or submitted by Vice President Lou Petrucci and President Sharon Cotman, and sponsored by some specific board members. So we were pleased with the updates and the inroads that have been made so far. We've provided feedback to Dr. Cress's update, along with Dr. Cash, and he's going to, he said he would take that back to Dr. Cash and submit it again with the modifications. The second theme was the New York State Regents exams and grades 3 through 8th testing. That was discussed. Everyone agreed that some form of assessment is critical to discern where our children fall, especially during these turbulent times during this pandemic. Chief Accountability Officer Ebony Bullock, along with Chief Academic Officer Ann Botticelli, presented robust information as it relates to current assessments and tools used in the schools other than New York State assessments. And then the third theme was connecting and engaging all learners. We talked briefly about how student ratio has significantly dropped, especially from the McKinney-Vento program, and some of the other young people who have not engaged so far. Dr. Cassandra Wright and other cabinet members provided a robust presentation of how the district is continuing to connect and engage young people. For example, the importance of educators allowing students to have flexibility in learning remotely and turning in assignments without being penalized. They also talked about, some wraparound services, how they reach out to students by going out to their homes, social media, texting and all kinds of wraparound services to engage young people in learning. And pretty much that was the thrust of the student achievement.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Vice President Lou Petrucci.
Thank you, President Belton-Cottman. Since the last time, I had opportunity to visit 3 different charter schools, Enterprise, Westminster, and Reach. Maritime has reached out to me also. When I finalize a date, I will let all my fellow board members know. You're more than welcome to come with me to attend and take a walk through. Maritime has a new location in a former Buffalo Public School, School 29. It was also formerly South Buffalo Charter School as well. But it is one of our buildings that we no longer use, but I'll keep everyone posted. Paulette Woods and myself did meet with Comptroller Barbara Miller-Williams and Deputy Comptroller Delano Dowell. It was a very good meeting. We discussed a variety of different topics. One of the things that came up, because some of the 2 topics were kind of conflated, and they asked going forward that we separate out with some of the topics that pertain to the city of Buffalo and keep that separate from the comptroller's office. So with respect to the comptroller, it had to do with the refinancing of the bonds, as Paulette Woods had mentioned. We had also discussed there's a old agreement that dates back to Barb Smith when she was our chief financial officer in the district. They're going to dig up and provide us a copy, which I will provide to my fellow board members just to see what we're operating under. We discussed putting money into an interest-bearing account, but the interest in many of these accounts are so low that it would be negligible to the district. The real savings or the real benefit to the district was on the refinancing. On the city side, we did discuss with, I did raise the question Mr. Hurd had asked previously about where the dollars are going from the speed zone cameras. The city is going to use those dollars into infrastructure work in and around the Buffalo Public Schools, particularly starting with the areas that have the cameras. But that has to do with crosswalks and sidewalks and traffic calming, as opposed to actually dollars going in for instruction. So that was the response. The second thing that they were waiting for is that even though additional dollars have been earmarked for the district from the federal government, they want to see what the state budget comes through and whether or not our actual allocation from the state will be reduced by that much or how much. I think we'll all have a better idea once the state budget is prepared as to what the final numbers pass. Because if they allocate 50, 60, 70 million dollars to the district, whatever the final number turns out to be, and the state reduces the amount by that much, well, then it's a wash. And that isn't, in my opinion, the purpose or the intent of the legislation. The other thing that the Commissioner Estridge, who's in charge of the city finances, wanted to remind us was that even though the city's contribution to the district has been constant, the amount that the city has received from the state has consistently been reduced. So that numerator has stayed the same, but the denominator keeps getting smaller and smaller. So they just wanted to remind us of that. They also remind us that we have a sales tax sharing agreement that the other big 5 districts don't have, and the other in-kind contributions. That was the response we brought up when Paulette and I brought up about the increasing of the dollars to the district. They said it's not this simple, and let me explain all the reasons why. But I'll let you know that we did bring that up, and we will eagerly await the state's budget as to how it's going to impact the district. That is my report for this evening. Thank you, President Sharon Belton-Cottman.
I want to add to that report that we also pointed out to them that although they felt the Buffalo Public Schools is getting increase we received, $15 million went to the charter schools. So we also did not get an increase. So I did want to make sure I let you know we did point that out.
Thank you. I'm glad that you guys represented us so well. My apologies. That was the day that my granddaughter's computer was down, and I was over at South Park. And I got to tell you, I was very impressed with how they handle things at our IT department. But thank you for that. Next, we have Board Member Larry Scott. Please report out. Thank you.
President Cottman, I think Dr. Cash had his hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dr. Cash, your hand is up? Okay, sorry. Let's see it.
Yeah, colleagues, I didn't want to be the one to say it, but I think we do have to, when we look at these dollars and the way that, I've been concerned, for example, that some news outlets in particular, the main one of record for here, keep talking about the district getting $245 million in windfall for 3 weeks going now. And when we look at this attack that's on us, I mean, if you look in the whole ransom for anything, I mean, stop saying that. Stop saying that. And almost every day there's some big number that the school system's getting ready to get. So that's one point I want to make, and you guys need to pull in around that and be careful when you're out there on the media. Number two is, and Jeff and I talk about it. Jeff has mentioned it so many times, and I can understand the city, you know that. But it seems to me, if you're borrowing millions of dollars, each year, just to keep your cash flow going and not have to go and borrow, it seems like we should be able to get some kind of interest around that. When this has been 2 or 3 years going now. It's just a question. And Lou, if you're in those meetings, and Paulette, I would just be like a broken record about that issue. I get that they've helped us and with this and with that, but if you were to go out and borrow $12 million, $20 million to make it through the year, the interest on that is considerable over time. And then you'd have to pay back that amount plus interest. And I just, I don't know if we're getting enough credit or whatever you want to call it around that, because every bit is going to matter when it comes to, getting our kids where we want them to be. And I just think while we listen, and certainly we're partners and polite and all of that, you got to hammer that issue. Because if you look at those sheets month to month, there's about a 6-month period where they're borrowing money off of our largesse. And, I don't know.
Dr. Cash, I want to make it real strong point that we did let them know that it is not even a question of whether we get interest, because it is an accounting principle founded in our audit that we are required to be paid interest. So I'm not letting that drop, because the controller is over accounting principles and law. And I think she will respect that. But we didn't have Jeff there to hammer that home. So, next time.
So can we also talk about the fact that they keep using the fact that they are providing resources for the citizens of this district and trying to tie it to Buffalo Public Schools, as if there is no responsibility for the city to provide support for the students in the district. When we think about it, we realize that for the past, I don't know how many years, that we've received $22 million less than anything closer to our counterpart, part of the Big Fives, and to have this conversation. So in an audit, it was cited that we're supposed to receive interest. We expect to receive our interest, okay? Take it from the money that you're getting from the school board, from the school cameras that a recent report reflected. And we're gonna have to bring this up in educational support. If that report is true, that I heard that there was an investigative report. I don't know if it was done by the Investigative Post or whatever, but there's a report out there that says that there are areas that are specifically targeted for those cameras. And I'll give you an example. We needed a camera on Maston, which is a direct route from Main Street to the medical corridor, and it ends up on Ferry Street, which has about 3 or 4 stop signs by the school. We couldn't get it where we need it. The city determined that that would interfere, I'm sure, with the flow of traffic to the medical corridor. However, it ends up on Ferry Street. Okay, and Ferry has 3 stoplights within a quarter of a mile distance. So come on now, if we need it, we need it. But I have a major problem with what I'm hearing about this, and I plan to explore it even more. I'm not going to play games with low-income people and have them subject to additional penalties because of the deficit that exists within the city, and earning that money on the backs of our citizenship, our parents. That's not right, and we're going to be working with that. So I'm sorry. I just had to put that in there. It's unacceptable that report showed that there was some biases. And the record will reflect that I said that from day one, that there was biases associated with that, and I was somewhat disappointed that the letter that was written recently to the city supporting from this district was not brought to the board before it was sent, to say that we want every school to have the same problems and to have it all day long. I have a problem with that, with what I'm seeing going on in my community. One parent had a $700 ticket, and the city reduced it to $300. Okay, and she just had to pay the $300. She didn't have to pay the $700. Come on now, just stop it. Okay, so I'm sorry, Mr. Hurd, you have something to say about this, or we're moving forward? What's up?
Yes, that you're speaking of, could you please send that to the board also so we can take a look at it? And
The investigative report?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have it in my hands, but once I get it, I'll send it to the board. That's the intent.
Please, this is
I'm going from what channel, I think it was 4, put on their website. WGRZ, I think, put it on their website. That's the report that was put on their website. I brought it up the other day, but I didn't get a chance to get really into it. So we need to look at that. We're not going to be a party to that type of unequitable and unequal treatment of people. It's just not.
So, excuse me. Well, hopefully Ms. Keller can pull it up for us, that we can take a look at that, because I receive complaints all the time, and I myself, look at the practice of these speed zone cameras and how they're being utilized, and it really affected people of low income, and especially during times of work hours. So we really need to take a look at this strong as a board, and I would love to present this in educational support, and also have an opportunity just to meet with the council possibly, so that we can try to address this a little more seriously. But we also need our community to respond also. Our community to write letters and have concerns with it also.
They're doing their thing, but I want to also say that report said that in the areas where the accidents had occurred, where people had been, pedestrians had been hurt, that the cameras were not put in those areas. So that's interesting. Mr. Petrucci.
Thank you, President Coppin. Yeah, the main complaint that I hear is on Abbott Road in South Buffalo. We have 2 cameras within less than a half a mile of each other, and you drive, you have the 15 miles, then it's 2-3 blocks, then it's the 50 mile per hour zone again also. So there's just a heavy concentration. I know that I've received many complaints about that area in particular.
We're going to have
to go through Main Street in Buffalo also, going out north.
Colleagues.
Yes.
Just want to know if we're starting to go off the trail a little bit. Are you saying you want to have a meeting, Terrence, to talk about the impact of the speed zone cameras on what?
There's a lot of community concern about the cameras and the usage of the cameras, the time that they're being utilized, and a lot of places like concerns for Jefferson Avenue, School 99. The kids should be let in the parking lot behind the school, to where a speed zone camera would be utilized, for traffic in front of the school. Those kids are bused to that location, and people are receiving tickets going up Jefferson, up the hill, and down the hill. It's on the hill, so your car naturally speeds up. So you're trying to control it, during that time period. So a lot of concerns that came from that particular location also, and also Main Streets, where we have about 4 zones back to back to back to back, and then another one that goes out by the University of Buffalo. So it's it causes a lot of traffic. It could be more of a hindrance, you know, as far as the traffic safety than it could be, you know, as protecting and helping, you know.
So you want to look at specific places, not take umbrage with the whole idea of speed zone cameras around schools.
That's correct. At this time, yes, sir.
Okay, because staff have worked very hard to try to make sure we have a safer zone around schools, colleagues. I don't know, you know, you've lived here a lot longer than me, but I can tell you we got a heavy foot here in Buffalo. And I see people speeding all the time, right through traffic lights, right past me.
And that's everywhere.
60 miles an hour, it's a problem. And when we get into a place where we got children crossing the street, we got families trying to take their kids across the street, we got buses stopped that they're going to be stopping on a regular basis as we continue to resume. Somewhere, you know, I'm open for dialogue, but I don't want us to retreat from the notion that we should have these speed zone cameras. It's just not tenable.
Well, we'll talk about it. Okay. I have a problem with what I'm saying. That's all I've got to say. And I've said that.
Me too. Me too. Slow down.
At the end of the day, if the cameras had gone where the children were being hit and where the accidents were happening, we would not be having this conversation. They did not go in those zones.
Madam President, this conversation is a matter of lawsuit. It will be resolved. There have been studies that has been presented to the council about the inequities of the positioning. They need the revenue, we need the protection, but the placement appears to be not correlating with where the accidents were. And that's the matter of the lawsuit, so we'll stay tuned.
All right, I'm sorry. Okay, we got off the, okay, Mr. Scott, moving forward, I'm sorry. Your report, please.
All right, real quick, as chair of the ad hoc charter school sustainability committee, the board had a hearing today with Brick Academy Charter School, which is a corporate charter management organization that is proposing 2 charter schools for Buffalo, an East Campus and a West Campus. Their application is before the SUNY Board of Trustees. Just some financial information, and this is coming directly from their application. Estimating over 5 years, it would cost Buffalo Public Schools between $20 to $30 million to cover for these 2 schools to be opened and be at full capacity. And that's in addition to the well over $150 million that we're already spending on existing charter schools. Most importantly, because it's a charter management organization that's involved, of that revenue that they receive, over 5 years, $3.5 million per school will leave Buffalo, will leave our children, and go outside of New York State to where they're housed in New Jersey, where their charter management organization is housed. And that's all public tax dollars, and that's $7 million total for both schools that will be leaving Buffalo, leaving our children, have nothing to do with educating our children, and just go into the pockets of that charter management organization. I'm for the board members that participated, it was surprising the lack of knowledge they had on Buffalo. There was only one of the maybe 7 applicants that attended that actually live in Buffalo right now. They had no awareness or understanding of the education bargain that we obviously invest all of our work in here in Buffalo Public Schools. So for those that are listening and are concerned about what this is potentially going to do, both for Buffalo Public Schools and existing charters, I welcome you to send your feedback to BPS board members at buffaloschools.org. And to make it clear, there are 3 entities that can authorize a charter school: SUNY Charter School Institute, NYSED, State Ed Department, Board of Regents, and the Buffalo Board of Education. Most of the charter schools are authorized by SUNY and State Education Department Board of Regents. There are two that are under our authority. That's Enterprise Charter School in Westminster, and they're up for renewal. And we need to discuss and take action on those two charter schools, which is being requested by the commissioner, the state ed commissioner, Ms. Rosa. So I'm recommending that with us not having a meeting next Wednesday, that we convene a meeting to discuss and take action on those two charter schools next Wednesday.
Okay, I think that's a great idea. I think we need to let our listening audience know that the reason why Westminster and Enterprise are being highlighted and are going through this is because of lack of proficiency. And I've said it before and I'm going to say it on record. When we met with the interim commissioner, Rosa, Betty Rosa, we were somewhat chastised because Buffalo Public Schools is the sponsor of these two schools, and for whatever reason, we did not understand our proper role in this equation. And so when I heard the parents today talking about how great the school is, well, the missionary approach works real well. Everybody can feel warm and fuzzy, okay? But if the commissioner of education says to you that these two schools have not been performing at proficiency for over a decade, then we got to start having a conversation about what's going on here. Because warm and fuzzy is not educating children. And there's not, the same transparency is not being addressed between the Buffalo Public Schools and charter schools. And had those been Buffalo Public Schools, they would have been shut down a long time ago and required to go through a series of steps. So we're gonna, I know the board members, I hope you will agree, and let's see if you're in agreement that we meet, the meeting shouldn't take that long anyway, next week, Wednesday, and let's get this resolved because we have to get this to the state within the next week after that, right, Darren?
Supposed to go to the state this week, so we've asked for an extension, but it needs to get to them prior to us leaving for Easter break because it needs to, the Board of Regents has to consider it.
Okay,
So
all right.
it was either the 24th or the 31st that you'd be able to meet and accomplish that.
And I want that date for those proficiency rates to be made available to the public. Okay, it's one thing to compare Buffalo Public Schools, 50 school network, 50 plus school network to one school or two schools. But we're in a situation now where we are being held accountable and we cannot find fault with other charter schools without doing what we're supposed to do for our charter schools. And that's what the gist of what the message was when we were talking about that we have responsibility to handle that. So we need to get to that. Anybody have a problem with meeting next Wednesday for a brief meeting? No? Everybody's okay? Okay, all right.
Would 4 o'clock work? You want to do the meeting earlier?
Can you do 4 o'clock, people? Who can anybody not do 4? Can you do 4? Can everyone do 4? Lou, that's good for you? Okay.
Works for me.
Jen said it's okay. Larry says it's okay. Kathy says it's okay. Paulette, it's okay.
Yeah, we can do.
Okay, we'll do 4 o'clock then.
Not available, but go ahead and do it. It's fine.
Say that again?
I said I'm not available, but go ahead and do it. I don't want you to not do it because of just me. So go ahead and do
You're
it.
not available at 4 o'clock? Are you that date at all?
I'm not available next Wednesday.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right. So hopefully the majority, we can have enough, we got enough people to have that meeting. We have to have the meeting. It's not an option. What happens if they don't extend us, Darren? Do we have to pull something together real quicker than that?
Yeah, we have to do something because their charter is up. They only got an extension, so their charter is up, and it's, you know, charter, the district has to make some decision.
All right, thank you. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Board Member Scott, for your for your report. Okay, if all minds are settled, we're going to move forward. I did hear a request to find out more about our sports department or our sports activities so we can give our parents some information, but that's about all that I think is outstanding. May I have a motion to accept the consent agenda? Paulette, Lou, all in favor? Just put your thumbs up. Any opposed? We're all good? Okay, question number 9A is on the table with Mr. Lou Petrucci, Civil Service Personnel Change.
Thank you, President Cotman. As we go with phase 2 starting on Monday, my question I want to make sure that we have enough bus drivers and bus aides. I saw in 9A that we saw some resignations of bus aides. I just want to make sure that we'll be as well staffed or as staffed as possible.
Well, Mr. Petrucci, there's a position open, so, maybe from 7 to 9 before you start your day job, maybe me and you could get out there and start.
Pick a bus, Sharon. I'll take one. You can have the other one.
Okay. Dr. Cash, you had mentioned that you felt comfortable. You wasn't sure about bus aides. And maybe we can get something updated through our transportation department to us on that via email.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Next, Mr. Hurd, were your questions in 17C, D, and E answered? That's your questions dealing with fitness rooms at Emerson, South Park, and Tri-Main.
Yes, I'll just make it quick. I see the purchase price for 90,000, almost 90,500, and I'd like to know what equipment are being purchased for that monies. What other activities going to be done? With the usage of that money. I didn't see a list of actually what's being purchased, what upgrades are being made to those facilities. So if you can get that to me, please.
Yeah, I will share with the board, as I shared in my answer this afternoon. It is actually in board docs under the administrative section. It's actually 5 pages long, all the items that are being added to those schools. And you'll also see there's additional new flooring in those fitness rooms. And with the answers I sent out today, there's a proposed schedule for the updates of the other fitness rooms in the district also. But what I can do is detach those from board docs and send those to you separately if you can't access them, Mr. Hurd.
They're not on my board docs, so I'm not pulling them up. So that's why I was asking again, just to be clear about what services are we getting. Is it going to be a service also, or is this going to be the equipment or upgrade?
Equipment.
So what I'm concerned about is the equity piece here. Okay, I'm concerned about what equipment exists at what schools, because what I've seen is there are some schools that have everything that you can possibly name and some that do not. That's something that we need to look at to make sure that all children have access to the same type of equipment. Okay, we really do. We really do. That's for real. Okay, so 18H, Mr. Hurd.
18H was Dr. Brown answered some of those questions about 18H, but I just want to have one question. I get a lot of complaints. I know Larry mentioned this also. Was about children who don't come to school, who don't wear masks, who can't wear a mask because of a mental disability or probably a health risk, So I just want to know, can some of these masks be used for those children that have problems wearing masks over their face for education?
Okay, so 18H is Youth Clear Masks. School Health Corporation supplemental purchase. Okay, right. That's what we're talking about.
So, and I explained that those masks are used so that the students are able to practice their articulation, phonemic awareness skills, hearing impaired, speech with articulation concerns, entering and emerging ENL students, pre-K to 2. And it's helpful for those teachers to see their mouths when they're practicing those skills, and these masks aren't reusable. I think what Mr. Hurd is asking is about masks when students can't wear a mask nor a face shield. These are still masks, Mr. Hurd. They're just clear in the front. So what I will do, I will ask Kim Hosher if that's been explored with some of the students that, don't feel comfortable wearing a mask. But those are the two choices for students, a mask or a face shield, but there must be a covering.
Okay, I was not seeing clear mask. I thought it meant had a shield or some sort of divider that was attached.
Right. The board approved, I believe, last board meeting or the board meeting before that, the face shields. So we do have those in stock that students are able to use if they can't wear a mask.
So for the parents that have complaints from their children who have trouble wearing masks, have those been utilized for that purpose?
Yes, they have.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, if you're good with that, okay, then we are ready to vote. Mr. Kuzman, would you please poll the board?
Are we removing number 23H?
I believe that was the last one Mr. Hurd had a question about.
Oh, I didn't have that. Okay, 23. I didn't have that. 23H.
Right, because that resolution is set to be tabled. So Mr. Hurd can ask his question or his concern tonight. We can send it to committee because the board isn't voting on that policy until next board meeting.
To next board meeting.
Correct,
So,
because it's tabled tonight.
okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But my only question about that was the city honors in our criterion schools. With the Jesse Ketchum Awards, it states that for one seat, they'll go to a criterion school or the list of schools that was on the list. For 110 students, that one seat will be available. And for above 110 students in that school, in that 9th grade, that 2 seats will be available. And I would like to see those numbers raised. So we can talk about that at another time, but I know that Dr. Will Caress reached out to me today and I wasn't available, but I would like to see some adjustment to that more than 1 or 2 seats be awarded for those Jesse Ketchum awardees, and so that we can have a little more diversity in that.
Right.
Thank you.
And so has that admission test been removed? Is my concern. So let's take that back to your committee, Lou.
President Cotman, that issue has been addressed in the new policy where we waived that requirement, except at Buffalo Academy of Visual and Performing Arts, where the audition is certainly a very heavy component of admission.
Okay, thank you. So Lou, will you put that on your agenda also, so that we can review that and wrap that up? Okay, sorry about not having that. Okay, so Council Nate Kuzma.
Hi. All right, on the consent agenda, how do you vote, Dr. Kathy Evans Brown?
No exceptions.
Mr. Hurd?
No exceptions.
Ms. J?
No exceptions.
Ms. McCosey?
Exceptions.
Is that no exceptions? I couldn't quite hear.
Yeah, no exceptions. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Just want to be clear for the record. Mr. Petrucci?
No exceptions, council member.
Mr. Not, yeah, well, maybe, probably not ever.
That's what you get. 9 o'clock, keeping people all night.
Mr. Scott?
Didn't hear you.
Mr. Scott?
No exceptions.
Thank you. Board Member Rivera is excused. Board Member Woods?
Exceptions. I'm sorry?
Exceptions?
I said no exceptions.
Okay. And President Belton Cotman?
No exceptions.
All right, consent agenda passes. Thank you.
Consent agenda passes. Okay, so Lou, do you have your list of our honorees who have parted from this with transition? Do you have a list?
I do, President Cotman.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Very, very quickly, because you still have the resolution to deal with. I just want to make sure you didn't.
Thank you. Okay, so the resolution, I'm sorry, number 24A, Board Member Larry Scott sponsored a resolution on grades 3 through 8 state assessments in a pandemic.
Yes, thank you, President Cotman. So I am introducing this resolution tonight. It is currently sponsored by Vice President Kathy Evans Brown, Member at Large Terrence Hurd, Member at Large Dr. Ann Rivera, West District Jennifer McCosey, and North District Hope J. To summarize, as we all know, an acting Assistant Secretary of Education denied a requested waiver by State Ed to waive state assessments for this school year. In State Ed's waiver request, it was indicated that the spring 2021 state assessments, quote, cannot be safely, equitably, and fairly administered to all students across the state, given how severely the pandemic has impacted the delivery of instruction to students and adversely affected their social and emotional well-being. We know that students have incurred ongoing interruptions since last year. Most have received instruction remotely, especially in Buffalo Public Schools and other large urban school districts. Students of color, their parents are more likely to choose to stay full remote. And as we saw this week in some surveys and articles that Mr. Petrucci and I shared with the board, that has been reflected, that students of color, those parents, and from lower income families, they're more likely to choose remote instruction. Administering state assessments, grades 3 to 8 for a limited number of students will reduce time for instruction, intervention, social and emotional support for all our students at a time that it is needed most. Waiving state assessments would redirect funds affiliated with state assessments to providing most needed interventions and supports directly to schools and students. Administering state assessments in an altered manner with a limited number of students will yield unreliable results in comparisons to previous years of administered state assessments. State assessments provide little to no useful information to school staff and parents and have been mostly used to judge and punish public schools, staff, and students in attempts to privatize public education, especially in urban school districts such as Buffalo Public Schools. Buffalo Public Schools and our staff continue to utilize local diagnostic and holistic assessments, and I've added some of those that were shared, and this was recommended by Board Member Hurd. Some of these came from Ms. Botticelli's presentation last week. For example, STAR Math, DIBELS 8, Independent Reading Level Assessment, New Entrant Screener, iStation, District Benchmark Assessments, Common Formative Assessments, etc., which provide far more meaningful information on student growth, strengths, and weaknesses than the state assessments. Therefore, be it resolved, the Buffalo Board of Education respectfully requests that newly appointed United States Secretary of Department of Education, Dr. Miguel Cardona, overturn the denial of the NYSED request to waive state assessments for the 2021 school year. Further, be it resolved, the Board of Education respectfully requests the assistance of President Joseph Biden, Senator and Majority Leader Charles Schumer, U.S. Senator Kristen Gillibrand, and U.S. Congressman Brian Higgins in overturning the denied state ed request by the U.S. Department of Education to waive state assessments for the 2021 school year. Further, be it resolved, the Board of Education assures Buffalo parents and caregivers the right to choose to have their children opt out of grade 3 through 8 state assessments free of any penalty or repercussion in the event that they are administered. The other changes that I've made from recommendation from President Cotman was to make this inclusive of all state assessments, not just grades 3 to 8. So in the title, I took out grades 3 to 8, so it's now titled Resolution on Assessments in a Pandemic. And then I also took grades 3 to 8 out in the second, or the first further be it resolved, second last from the end.
And I want to thank you for those, making those changes. I also would like to co-sponsor, be a sponsor of this as well. Paulette Woods, your hand is up.
Yes, I just wanted to say that at the Urban Forum yesterday, Dr. Nicole Hannah-Jones strongly said that the state assessments were the vehicle that we had to measure where our children are and to be able to judge what necessary supports we have to give them for how to find out how far they've fallen behind and to make a difference. So based on listening to her, I will not be signing or voting for that amendment. Thank you.
So I participated in that urban forum, and unless she said it at a different point, I asked a question about standardized testing, and her response was that she felt that standardized testing, there's value in it, and it plays a role, and that we need it. But I don't remember her referencing specifically state assessment.
She did not. That's right.
I would say also, and she did not reference state. There is, what you mentioned on this resolution clearly depicts other assessments that are worthy of telling parents and showing the district where our kids are. This is the pandemic, and so you can't expect regular, rigorous state assessments to be the same if it wasn't a pandemic.
Thank you.
Yes.
I believe they said the test would not be used for the slapping our hands, but more to let us know where we have to catch our children up. Our parents want knowledge of where their children are so that we can catch them up. And that was what was pointed out yesterday. So I just wanted to be clear on that.
Okay, Jennifer, your hand is up, or did you take it down?
No,
Jennifer?
my hand is up. I just wanted to make sure that, for the record, my reasoning for being a part of this, for sponsoring this resolution is the same as that it's always been, not just during the pandemic issue, but the state assessments do not really evaluate a child's whole well-being. And what a child brings to the table is not just what they take in a test that day. You know, I mean, it doesn't depict a child's entire scope of their knowledge and their interests and what they bring to the table. And I believe with the list, and there was a plethora of different assessments that, you know, Ann Botticelli and Larry Scott that you mentioned, that, you know, also can dig into a little more of what that child needs. It isn't just a method of whether or not they can, it's 2 + 2, but it's how they get there. It's, you know, what is their roadblock if they cannot get there? What is their understanding of the subject in general? And the state assessments do not assess that in any way, shape, or form. So this is why I'm supporting that. And I just want to be very clear about that.
Thank you. And I also like to say the state assessments take months to come back. Okay, so it's not as if it's a diagnostic tool that can be used to help the students move to the next level. It's just not happening. So I think there needs to be a further understanding of what exactly the state assessments are. That is the conversation when we are teaching to the test mentality versus finding out what children actually know and where they are. And that's the reason why I think it's great that we've added these assessments in. I think part 2 of this is for the board to set up time schedules to have those assessments reviewed. And I certainly am not for my child being compared or my grandchild being compared, and he has not been in the classroom for over a year, to a student who has had a smaller environment and was in the classroom for the entire year. I don't feel that's fair to him, but we are going to be looking at the test or his scores on the tests that are being used for diagnostic purposes. And I'm proud to sign on to this, and I will take on that debate for anyone who feels, especially after that debate for so long about the Common Core debate, if you'll remember that debate, how all of a sudden that mentality flipped, that we should not, that all children should be tested even though they haven't had the same opportunity to learn. I'm not with that, and I'm not standing for that. Equity does not say, do this. Equity says, do what we're doing. I'm proud of that.
Thank you, President Cotman. So
Thank you.
I move to approve the resolution with the amendments presented, including adding President Belton Cotman as a sponsor to the resolution.
Thank you. Okay, second. Okay, so I second, Terrence second. All in favor? Do we need to do a roll call vote? Or we can just raise our hands?
I'm okay with you raising your hands based on the comments.
Okay, Jennifer stepped out, her hand went up and then she left. Jennifer, your hand up. Okay, Jennifer, all board members present except for Paulette Woods have raised their hands. Thank you.
So Paulette Woods is a nay vote?
Nay vote.
Okay. And every other board member except Dr. Rivera is in favor. Okay.
Okay, we got that? All right. Thank you, Darren, for keeping me on the straight and narrow. I appreciate you. Okay, so in moving forward, we do have, Nate asked that we go into executive session. He has to share some legal things with us. We still want to do our respect our bereaved individuals. So,
President Cotton, before you move on, what about 24? I think it's 24A.
that's the one that we just passed.
No, I'm sorry. It's about the Holocaust.
Oh, that's going to be under unfinished business once we come out of executive affairs. Okay. All right. Under unfinished business tonight, I would like to talk about the retreat for restorative justice and the sponsorship of a student scholarship with the Holocaust Resource Center. Okay, and then any other items that you would like to talk. Okay, all right. So, Mr. Petrucci.
No. Whoa. Wait a minute. Wait. Unfinished business needs to be posted on what it is.
Nope. It doesn't have to be.
I asked Darren about that and Nate. And so anything else you want to talk about, what that could be anything.
We can talk about anything under unfinished business. That's under Robert Rules of Order. If somebody wants to bring something to the table, it does not have to be a part of the consent agenda. That is the place where that is discussed. If it's something that impacts you or whatever, but certainly that's my understanding.
Well, it's not fair to staff or to me to bring up unfinished business that I don't know what you're going to talk about. You ought to give me some advance notice. If
I just gave you what we're going to talk about.
No, you didn't.
I did too.
No, you didn't.
Athletics, as we discussed earlier.
No, and what does that mean? What does that mean? We went through this last time, colleagues. I told you, you don't ambush me. I will not participate. What does that mean? We're going to discuss athletics. I sent you a blue line response today from last week that you asked me to do. I sent it to you this afternoon. Anything beyond that, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, I guess this was in the works prior to coming to this board meeting. Certainly should have had a conversation with me. But my understanding is if this board wants to talk about something, they have the right to talk about it. They may not be able to resolve it, but they certainly have the right to bring it up. Now, there's no muzzle on this board. And there's no muzzle on this board. If you feel that,
No, it's not about a muzzle. It's about having preparation to talk about something you want to talk about.
If you feel, the reason, if you can't, if there's a situation where you cannot address it because you have not had enough notice, that's fine. Okay, then we move that to a committee. And most of this stuff always ends up in committee anyway. But certainly if something comes up, we can't be just governed by just not saying that. Now, this particular rift that's going on in regards to this sports department or the sports information, I have a major concern. If you send some information over, I haven't looked at it. And Mr. Hurd, there's obviously a communication problem between you and me, because somehow or another, I'm not aware of what you're trying to move forward. I would encourage you and all the board members to speak to me in regards to what things you're trying to move forward, so that we can get on the same page and understand what you're trying to do. You know, that's the least that can happen as president of this board, that you let me know what you're trying to do, because if you don't, then this is the conversation that we have out in public that I would prefer that we did not have. Okay, so
my understanding is that items that are under you were discussing, were you going to discuss with the board a time for that restorative justice retreat, and we sent the board earlier, Eleanor forwarded to the board what you had sent to the board members weeks ago about the sponsorship of that award, correct?
Right. Those are the two things that I have.
And it's been on we discussed this 2 weeks ago about the future of the athletic department. Email went out and Dr. Cash responded. He was supposed to respond. I asked for this to be placed on the Educational Support Committee meeting for Wednesday, March 10th, and it wasn't added on to the meeting, and which is not which is advised that if a committee member asks to have something added to the committee meeting, it should be added to the meeting, and I think there's some legal liabilities that are involved with that.
No, there is a difference between, this is your business meeting, board. There's a difference between unfinished business, you know, like scheduling future meetings to discuss something that's already been talked about, or to vote on an item that's going to be before the board to spend money, and bringing items as a catch-all to talk about anything and everything you want to. I think you have to be very careful about that.
I agree with that.
And there needs to be, those need to be distinguished.
And a lot of this can be resolved by simply communicating with people. It's simple. You know, if you have a concern and you bring it to my attention, and we're trying to work things out. That's why we have Darren, we have Nate Kuzman, and we have the superintendent. We can work these things out. But it's not going to be a situation. We're not trying to play gotcha. I don't have time for that at 9 o'clock at night. I'm not playing that. And so if you don't feel that your questions are being answered, or you don't feel that you're getting what you need, Mr. Hurd, you need to communicate with me. If you're not, then that's the issue here. You need to communicate with the board president moving forward on how you want, so that we can decide how you want this handled.
I did communicate with you several times about this topic.
How? Did you call me up?
We were talking through text message.
Okay. Well, I don't remember texting you on this issue.
I for one feel as if we don't really need to discuss all this openly, but just like you just said, but this agenda was asked to be placed several times on the Educational Support Committee meeting, and it wasn't. And this is something that our community members have sent a lot of emails, have a lot of concerns, about the future, and the recent reactions, or recent sports events, and how it's going to go forward. So this is something that had urgency to it.
Okay, so if it had urgency, Mr. Hurd.
Dr. Cash, I reached out and I called Dr. Cash several times on it, and I didn't get a response on it.
I responded to you in Blue Line last Thursday. We couldn't get it to you because the system was attacked on Friday morning, but I completed that last Thursday. You said, here are the questions. We asked you that since I wasn't going to be able to be there, send the questions and we will Blue Line them for you in the morning. You did that, and I have since Blue Lined those questions. So tonight's topic, I don't know what you're talking about, and it can be a wide open, long thing. I don't have staff here. I'm happy to talk about anything you want to talk about, but this is not how you do unfinished business, in my opinion. What President Cotman did is fine, but if you want to just have an open topic and say we need to talk, and then you have a bunch of questions there that no one else is privy to, and you want to ask me those on the spot tonight, and then if you don't like the answers to my questions, then what? And what are we doing? So I have to get very good clarity about that before we go into anything to do with athletics tonight. My staff are at games and finishing off the season tonight, but they're not here. I'm here.
So in moving forward, okay, let's reset the stage and reset the ground rules. If something is so important, and I sent this out in an email, okay, Mr. Hurd, that the community is moving an agenda forward, then it's important that the president knows how serious it is, so that I can let the staff know. And I can let the staff know, and we can move forward with that. Okay, but at this point in time, this is not the time that we can do this. It's just not. And I just want you guys to know.
I totally disagree with your statement you just made right now, President Comment. Respectfully, these questions were submitted to Dr. Cash on last week of Monday of March 10th. And I did reach out to him, like I said, several times. I didn't get a reply back about them. I also reached out to you. We talked through text message about this exact same situation.
When did we talk on a text message? Show me where we talked about a text message on it. See, this is the problem, Mr. Hurd. Okay, if you want to move an agenda from the community, as I've told the community, if they want to move an agenda, they better start talking to me as far as moving any agenda. If they want to talk about moving an agenda, they better come through the president. Because to hear all this other rhetoric and all this other stuff that's going on that I'm not getting the full understanding of until after the effect of it, in the past, when there was an issue you were compassionate about, you certainly took the time to lobby board members about it. So what I don't understand is that if this issue is so important to the board, that the community has brought it to you, why haven't you lobbied the board members on it?
These are the dates here. I had a very busy week.
And I thought you were talking to me, and I responded as if you were talking to me and told you should have sent that to Dr. Cash.
These are text messages here.
You said you wasn't talking to me. You said you were talking to Dr. Cash. That's what you said. You have a problem with communication because that last email that you sent.
Your voice is not going to solve this issue right now.
The last email that you sent, Terrence, you had a word in there that changed the entire meaning of the email. So that you got to understand you should call people and talk to people. That's what you need to do. Whether you like talking to me or not, you need to call me and let me know what's going on, okay? So we don't have that problem. Let's move forward. At this point, we're going to move forward. We'll talk about it off screen. Thank you.
No, I had a very busy and trying week. I had a lot of things going on, but I had a lot of business I had to take care of also. And some of the things that I did were through text message and were communication through you. So don't.
No, let me help you. And I'll be happy to share with the board what you
Let's remember the public is watching.
Okay, so calm down. I'll be happy to share with the board what you said to me. That's what the problem is. You guys said send it to Dr. Cash, and then you sent me back and said something altogether different. So you need to call people. You need to call people. You need to call people. And then the next time something is so important that the community brings you the information, you need to do what you do, call and lobby the board to move things forward if it's that important. Because I'm not going to have people having rallies telling me that there's information going to board members that's not getting through to the whole board or to the superintendent. We have crossed that line in our community that they will be talking to me about concerns that impact them moving forward. Because they want to make sure that we get it resolved, because it does not look good that the community is coming at this board or this superintendent and there's a communication problem on this board. We're going to work this out.
It does not receives information that he's trying to get through to others people, and it's not
until we get it resolved. That's how it goes. Okay.
I mean, I'm receiving many text messages about what this might be perceived as, and it's miscommunication. I've been asked to see if we can move along. If the community is responding this way, I'm hoping that we can move past this and maybe discuss this at another time.
We will.
For the interrupting, but yeah, we definitely need to discuss this, and at another time, though, as the community is reaching out. I'm here to others as well. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I'm very concerned that the community understands that Dr. Cash is our only, technically our only employee. And in addressing these issues, if there is something that this board needs, okay, and we're not having a conversation amongst ourselves about it, then how do you expect for it to get resolved? And that's what I've got to say about that. Okay, now, and moving forward, and I think it's healthy discourse. I really do. I really do, because at the end of the day, if we can get it clear that if we have a problem, we need to talk amongst ourselves before we take it to the superintendent. The superintendent cannot answer 9 texts of messages every day or whenever people are requesting. That information is supposed to come through the board, and the board is supposed to direct the superintendent. It's in his contract. Thank you. New, moving forward, let's do our bereavement, and then we will come back. I will do a motion for executive session, and Nate has some things he needs to discuss with us, and then we can move forward. Okay? Thank you.
Please rise. So these are our bereavements for the March 17th meeting of the Buffalo Board of Education. On February 8th, Anthony Truzillo, father of Anthony Truzillo, Anthony Truzillo Sr., father of Anthony Truzillo Jr., gym teacher. February 22nd, Donna Mae Kent, grandmother of Valerie Kent, principals at Pathways Academy. February 26th, Thomas J. Lynch, son of Susan Lynch, retired benefits office. February 28th, Linda Ann Corthoys, mother of Stephanie Burkmeyer, CSE chair, school number 197. March 2nd, Mary G. Turney, retired teacher aide at school 32, I'm sorry. On March 12th, Marlene K.K. Gaz, mother of Kimberly Gonzalez, West Hurdle Academy clerk. And then on March 16th, Lanique J. Taylor Sr., brother to Jackie Jones, human resource journalist, human resources, and Walida Jones Brown, teacher aide. Can we have a moment of silence for those who have passed?
Before we do that, we respectfully ask that we please acknowledge the passing of Emilio Fuentes, who is a strong education advocate who has, I wasn't sure of the date and I just heard about it, but he was involved in education for so many years and with so many people in different organizations across the city.
Thank you, Ms. McCosey. Thank you, board members.
Thank you. Okay. Nate, how much, are you ready to move forward into this?
As soon as you make them, I'll just have to log on. Mike Lucci will have to let me in.
Okay.
Listening.
So may I have a motion to go into executive session for the following purpose? 1, to discuss pending litigation with Buffalo Collegiate Charter Schools. 2, to discuss pending litigations with the Buffalo Teachers Federation. 3, to discuss pending litigation with BCSA. And 4, for the purpose of receiving legal advice. May I have a Jennifer, second by Lou. All in favor? Any opposed? All in favor? Okay, so moved. Okay, so Nate will need about Nate, how much time do you need?
Couple minutes.
Couple of minutes. Does anybody need a 5-minute break, or are we ready to move forward and wrap this up? And no actions were taken. May I have a motion authorizing the district to appeal case number 800-596/2021 to the Appellate Division 4th Department? Jennifer, and I saw Kathy's hands. Jennifer first, Kathy second. All in favor? Let's raise your hand. Any opposed? No opposed. Okay. Under, wrap this meeting up under unfinished business tonight. Kathy Evans Brown, can you move forward, please?
Sure. So I'm going to paraphrase this sponsorship request. It's for the Holocaust Resource Center of Buffalo, better known as HRC. It's a nonprofit organization dedicated to teaching the lessons of the Holocaust, remembering the survivors and victims, and promoting social justice, civil responsibility, and human rights. It's achieved by educating students and teachers about the Holocaust with survivor visits to schools, hosting educator conferences, organizing community-wide commemoration events, preserving survivor testimony and artifacts, and recognizing upstanders in our local community. And then I'm going to go on to say that they're always welcome our involvement, and they want us to consider sponsorship and participation in this year's Upstander event, taking place virtually on Thursday, May 20th, 2021 at 5:30, where we will be presenting the Sophia Veffer Upstander Award. It's an award named in honor of Sophia Veffer, a cherished local Holocaust survivor who continues to reach thousands annually with her message of the importance of being an upstander in the face of adversity. So this year, the HRC is proud to present the 2021 Sophia Veffer Upstander Award to David Rust. David Rust is the executive director of Say Yes Buffalo. Under David Rust's vision and leadership, Say Yes Buffalo provides services and resources to increase high school and post-secondary completion rates in the city of Buffalo. In addition, the HRC is thrilled to announce the inaugural Student Upstander Award to be presented to a young adult in our community who is courageous and who chooses fearlessly to defend what is just when others choose to be bystanders. So they're asking us to join in honoring David Ross and our Student Upstander on May the 20th, and by becoming a sponsor. So the sponsorship opportunity is in the amount of $5,000. The student will receive a plaque and tuition to attend the Academy for Human Rights Summer Symposium to further their development as an upstander. The Summer Symposium provides students the opportunity to hear internationally known human rights experts, take part in hands-on activities and field trips, and learn the skills they need to make an impact on the community, nation, and the world. And so with that, that is the recommendation of the sponsorship opportunities of $5,000.
So can I have a motion to move forward with this sponsorship? It is an opportunity for us to provide a public school student the opportunity to attend this session. Hand up is Mr. Hurd, second by Jennifer McCooley. All in favor, please raise your hand.
Aye.
We have anyone opposed? Paulette, was your hand up? Your hand was up? Okay. All in favor? All? Okay, no one is opposed to it. Okay, thank you. All right, moving forward, let's wrap this up. We have a retreat that we are in the process of trying to plan. As you will remember, Gina Thompson is going to be working with us in a retreat. Gina wants to start talking to the board members, how she has outlined this. She would like to come in next week. I got a response for her to at least, and Darren seems to feel it may be a problem because of the work that we have to do with the charter schools, but she wanted to at least outline the program with us. Then she wanted to do at least, and if she can't do it, then we'd have to do it at a later date. But she'd like to see our permission to move forward with the 1-hour interviews moving forward. Each board member, including the superintendent, would, because he's part of the board, would have a 1-hour, up to a 1-hour interview with her. Then they will lay out what their plans are. Originally, she wanted to lay out her plans and then meet with board members, but time is of the essence. Dina takes vacation in April. We are out from April the 1st through the 12th, and we don't have a lot of time. So here are some of the dates, and we need to, and we'll throw some dates out, but we need to talk about if we want to get together for a 4 to 5 hour retreat on a Saturday or a Friday evening, or when we want to do it. Some of the dates that were mentioned were in March, March the 31st. There's a Wednesday that we don't have board meeting that we could maybe do it that night. Sunday, she's available on Sundays, the 28th of March, Saturday, April the 10th, and Sunday the 11th. In addition to that, she would like to talk to us between the 22nd of March and the 31st. So she has your phone number, she has your email, she'll be reaching out to you. Her concern is that we have not had our initial conversation. Are you guys okay with us not having the initial conversation until after she does the 1-hour interview? Are you okay with that? Because it would take some weight off of her. Or would you like for her to come in next week on the 24th and talk to us after we deal with the enterprise and charters and Westminster charter school issues? Does anyone have an opinion? Yes, Mr. Petrucci.
I think I'd like to hear what she has to say after she speaks to us, but that's, my opinion. I would like her to get going, and then maybe afterwards she'll have a better, I'll get a better idea of the scope of work that needs to be completed.
Okay, good. So do you think, anybody else does everyone else, that's okay?
Agree.
You agree? Okay,
Yep.
good.
Agree with Lou.
Okay, so April the 7th, we have a committee, we don't have a committee meeting. Our next committee meeting isn't until April the 14th. And so I guess the question is, does anyone want to throw out a date during that week that we're off from school or whatever to meet or whatever? So we're gonna throw out some dates to you. Let's see what we can come back. Does anyone oppose to doing, and the reason that she picked 5 hours is she incorporated 2 breaks for 15 minutes and a 30-minute lunch incorporated in that. And so she would really only be dealing with 4 hours with us on that. Okay. There's definitely a need, for us to get this facilitated and moving forward. Is anyone receptive to opening up on a Saturday, maybe Saturday, April the 10th? You don't know? We'll throw some dates out there.
There's something going on with the NASPA, something like that.
Is it? I haven't even looked at my schedule.
The NASPA annual conference that starts that day.
Oh my goodness, I haven't even looked at my schedule.
I'll be out of town.
Okay, so that's not gonna work. So we'll just throw some days out there. We were trying
31st of March.
Do the 1st of April?
31st of March.
You guys think that 31st of March on a Wednesday where we normally don't have board meeting?
I'm okay with that.
You like that? Jennifer, what about you?
It makes sense.
It makes sense? Okay, let's do it then. All right, that's good. Okay, I'll let her know. And we'll send out, we'll get an email sent out with more detail in it, okay? All right. Okay. So if we're ready to adjourn, may I have a motion to conclude this meeting? Jennifer, second by Dr. Kathy Evans Brown, and I'm sure there are no one that's opposing. If you are, raise your hand. All right, Lou, put your hand down.
You can hear by yourself.
Lou, all right, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Have a great week and stay safe.
Good night, everyone.